All right. Hey, we're honored to have Jimmie Nichols with us. I was telling Jimmie a while ago, I've known Jimmie for a long time, but I don't see you as much now that you're famous as I used to do. But I want to thank you. I was thinking on the way here, I think the first time I met you, it was to ask you to help somebody, and you helped them. And the whole time I've known you, every time I asked you to do something, you did your best to help. And when I was teaching and coaching, you'd always come to our classes and speak. And I don't know if you remember this, but they had all the protests where they were kneeling during the national anthem. And I had you come to our football team, and you were in the Air Force, and Joe Heshbeth was in Navy, and I can't remember the other guy's name. He was an Army guy. He was with the guy that died.
Reese Roberts.
Reese Roberts. He was his best friend. But y'all shared with our kids the importance of the national anthem and the flag. But you were always good about doing that, and I appreciate it for all the good things you've done over the years. So I just want to tell you thanks for that.
Well, I hadn't been a saint my whole life, Scott, but I tried to turn things around early on, and one thing I have, I guess, grown to want to do more is to help people.
Well, let me ask you, when you said you're not a saint, because I know we used to have a whole lot of Bible discussions and talking about the Lord, but I know you're a person of faith. I just want to,
Sir.
I want you to explain that kind of journey that you've had with the Lord over the years.
Well, I never really left the Lord, or the Lord certainly didn't leave me.
Amen.
I mean, I strayed. When I was a young boy, I didn't think he could die. I actually thought I was invincible. I was a daredevil. I thought I could do anything, live through it. Didn't matter what it was. I mean, didn't matter how risky it was. If somebody wanted somebody to do something crazy, all they had to do is call me. I'd try it. Everything from I'd jump over anything on a bicycle or a motorcycle and then ran from the police just for fun. I mean, for no other reason. I know people go, "Why'd you run?" It seemed like the thing to do, But I've cut donuts in front of a police chief and took him on a high-speed chase, just for giggles. I mean, just did a lot of silly stuff. And I went through a time when I think a lot of people fall into this trap with alcohol. You get a little alcohol, you get a little whiskey in me, I'll do anything. I mean, it don't matter. I've been known to say things I probably shouldn't have said. So, I had to learn to wean away from those things as I grew up and matured in life. And then, of course, like I said, started off as a daredevil and never dreamed I'd have finished a 30-year career working with the Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics. Drugs wasn't my thing, obviously, but, alcohol I wasn't scared of. And so when you talk about, faith and how you change, like I said, I was raised in church. My mama played the piano and the organ.
Your mama played. I was
probably played at your wedding or
played at some revivals I did. I remember one time we were at a little, because I'm Baptist, and I guess your mom was too, but we were doing a revival at a Presbyterian church with about 3 people. And Ryan Merchant was doing the music. Your mama played, but I did a lot of funerals where your mom played and some revivals and all. So, but you grew up in church and
I did.
Knew the Lord at an early age. And
we didn't. I think I was 16 whenever I made a public profession. I think it was 15 or 16. Bardis Harper, Brother Bardis Harper, First Baptist Church in Morton, who baptized me. And they later moved down around Columbia somewhere. I lost track of them over the years, Tylertown maybe. But yeah, anyway, just like a lot of teenagers, made some dumb decisions early on, just doing, just being a boy, being a redneck country boy from Scott County. And anyway, got out of high school somehow. I think they just pushed me out. I remember one time my mom asked me, "How'd you do on your algebra test?" I said, "I don't know. I hadn't seen what Knox made yet." I made the same thing he did, though, because I probably looked at his paper. I didn't say that.
This Knox Ross that used to be our mayor, but he's a very intelligent man, so he helped you get through school.
He was good with numbers, and especially numbers had little letters beside them. When they put a 1 with a B beside it, I was like, "What's that?"
So this was your studying, huh?
Oh, yeah. Let me see what Knox put on that one. I was just hoping the teacher gave us all the same problems because it was going to be funny if she didn't. I'd have made a 0, I guess. But anyway, so somehow I made it through high school and got out of high school and started Well, during high school, I did small jobs, lifeguarding. Of course, grew up, granddaddy was a farmer, grew up on a farm, helped some other farmers around the neighborhood, the area out there around Leesburg and Branch on the farm. But I lifeguarded primarily, worked at Radio Shack, that type of stuff in high school. Then I got out and went to Hines Community College, or Hines Junior College then. And, of course, then at 18, you could drink. So I'm a grown man now, right? I can drink. You can't tell me nothing. So I get to college and miserably performed in the classroom at college, but I did well in some other areas, I think, working in the bars and stuff like that, or hanging out at the bars. And about the third semester of college, I got to spend the night in the Jackson City jail. Too much of that, warm, that good cold brew, and I ended up in the third floor of the Jackson City jail. And I think that really was the first time reality started kind of sinking in. There's consequences for things that you do. Because, again, I thought I was invincible, right? And so I never will forget, I get locked up in Jackson City jail, and, I was scared to death, number one, of what Mama was going to do and my dad. So the police didn't bother me nearly about as bad as Linda Nichols did. So long story short, I got up there in the booking area, and I remember they run me through all the stuff you had to do, and he asked me, said, the last thing was you need to make a phone call. I said, no, sir, and I appreciate it if you don't either. I mean, I'd really appreciate it if you just let me set this one out. So I go in the cell, me and a buddy of mine who's left us since, Shannon Irby, a good friend of mine. Our dads worked together on the railroad. But anyway, Shannon and I are in the jail cell, and about 2 a.m, I got to thinking, I said, my mom was looking for me, because back then didn't have cell phones. And Mama was one of those, if you wasn't at home at 12 o'clock, she was coming looking. I've had her come get me out of parking lots. My sister's had her come get her out of parking lots,
Not
too.
your sister.
Oh, yeah, my sweet little sister, Nicole. But anyway, I beat on the door, and the jailer comes over, and I said, hey, you mind if I make that phone call? And he said, you didn't make one? I said, no, sir, I really didn't want to call when I first asked. I was scared to, but I need to call. He said, well, I'll let you make it. So he gets me out about 2 a.m. I dial my old home number. Back then he had them old rotary phones anyway. You didn't have none of this fancy stuff we got now. So my dad answered the phone. And the first thing he said is, where are you at? And I said, well, I just need you to come get me. I didn't want to say jail. That word wasn't in my vocabulary, because I knew what was coming next. But he said, I said, where are you at? And I said, I just need you to come get me. Can you come get me? He said, where's your car? I said, can't get to it right now. And he said, boy, are you in jail? And I'll never forget having to say, yeah. But I said, yes, sir. And he said, okay, good night. I'll tell you, Mama. Click. I said, oh,
He said, good night. I'll tell your mama.
Yeah, he said,
A little
okay.
tough love. Huh?
So I spent the night in jail, and about noon the next day, Daddy showed up to get me.
Hey, let me ask you. We're going to get back because
No,
I know
on.
I got ADD and you do too. So we'll have.
I got all that. I got the whole alphabet.
Because you had a 30-year career in law enforcement.
Yes, sir.
And what's your opinion? Because your dad showed you some tough love. And looking back at some of the people you've dealt with, do you see that lack of tough love leading to a lot of the
almost 100%. I mean, there's some people just destined to mess up. I mean, I think we could all probably identify somebody in our lives that I don't care how hard you try or what you try to do, seems like they just go the wrong way. But yes, I saw that for 30 years. I've had parents get mad at me for arresting or stopping or whatever a child, and it was like it was our fault because we had this encounter with a child. And I've seen a lot of parents, defend them, and I'll defend mine. But mine also tell you, if they call me from jail, I'm gonna tell them the same thing my daddy did. Good night. I'll see you tomorrow.
Have you ever thought about if your dad just came and got you that night, how things would have been different?
Yeah, it probably wouldn't have done me any good. Because not only did he not come get me from jail that night, he didn't go to court with me either. When he got to court date, I asked my dad, and I know some people going, I can't believe Dad didn't go to court with you. Well, Daddy didn't do anything. I did. And I thought I was grown. I was 18, right? So when it came court day, I asked my dad, I said, hey, will you go with me to court in Jackson? He I ain't done nothing to go to court for. Good luck. So I ended up in court in Jackson and didn't know. I didn't even know what a courtroom looked like. I mean, at that time, I was scared to death. It scared me. But I walked in there and there was a judge. His name was Judge Chin, if I remember right, Chin. I think that's how he spelled it. But anyway, Judge Chin was on the bench, and I was scared to death. I'm thinking, they finna put me in jail for another week or something, you know. Well, I get up there to plead, or they asked me how I pled, guilty or not guilty. I didn't know what to say, and there happened to be an attorney. I think he was actually a city prosecutor. I think he just felt sorry for me because he knew didn't know what to say. He said, looked at the judge, can we have a moment? And the judge said, sure. You know, so we talked for a second, and he says, let me handle this for the next few minutes. And anyway, the judge calls us back up, and the prosecutor talks to the judge for a second. The judge calls me back up, and he says, son, let me ask you a question. If we let you plead guilty to a lesser offense and forfeit your bond money in lieu of the fine, will I ever see you in my courtroom again? I said, you might not never see me in Jackson again. I mean, because I thought I was going to prison. I mean, it was a misdemeanor, obviously, but I thought I was going to prison. I was scared to death. And so that was that didn't totally correct me. You know, it took a few more bumps through life to kind of get you in check. But that was probably the most eye-opening night I've had. And because, you know, when that door shuts and that still clicks, you're not going anywhere.
It's like a fork in the road, and you decided you was going to go down the other fork.
Yeah, it was kind of like, again, that wasn't a total turnaround that night. It wasn't like I miraculously just got better the next day. I still had a streak in me. We joke about this, but the crap side of my family and great people. But I also had a few crapses that liked alcohol, like I did at the time. That
Damon, his mother's last name was Crap. So when he said the crap side of my family, he's not meaning the bad side of the family.
I was like, man, that's
obviously.
You don't think much of them either.
There's a long strip of Cherokee in that side too. So when you mix the Cherokee and the whiskey, it just, you know.
Now, didn't your dad pretty much at that time say, I'm not funding you to go play in school anymore?
My daddy, I don't remember his exact words, but it was something to this. He said, you can either get a job, you can look at the military, or you can get your grade point average to 4.0, which I knew wasn't happening. Not unless Knox sat beside me in college. And so I was like, you know, I didn't know what to do there. I started looking for a job, and then I accidentally bumped into a U.S. Marine recruiter. And we had a conversation, and he told me to come see him. So I went down to their recruiting office and talked to him. And when I was leaving the recruiting office, I bumped into an Air Force recruiter, and he kind of laughingly, because there's a little competition between the branches of service. I respect every single one of them. I think they all have an equal role. They all have their own missions. But the Air Force recruiter said, you're not thinking about joining up with them knuckleheads, are you? He said, come on here, let me show you what we offer. You know, so I go in and meet with him for a minute. He shows me some things, some career fields that the Air Force offered. And I decided to check the box. And it wasn't too long. I was on a commercial jet headed to San Antonio, Texas for basic training.
Now, we're going to get back to the military, but I got two questions I want to ask you going back to your faith. And one of them is going to be vulnerable, kind of uncomfortable, because when I first met you, it was really right after Katrina. And I know that's really when the Lord humbled you. Kind of walk us through that, some of the things that you saw and experienced, and how God just kind of, I think he slowed you down at that point. And
I grew up hearing my parents talk about Camille and, you know, the bad hurricane. But you can hear about hurricanes and tornadoes and things, but until you live one of them, you just cannot fathom the destruction. Seen a lot of tornadoes over the years. Usually tornadoes, I'm not going to call them isolated, but it's you kind of have a zone that you got a strip of destruction. And sometimes death, obviously. But with Katrina, the whole coast was gone. We got a call on a Friday. The Governor Haley Barbour had been putting it out for 2 weeks at least. Never in the history of man has there been a surprise hurricane. We have surprise tornadoes, but they tell you 2 weeks in advance, hey, there's a hurricane coming, and next Tuesday it's going to be in your community. And so people, for whatever reason, decided to stay. A lot of people did. So Governor Barber calls our director on Friday, I think, and asked for all of us at MBN, our agents, to report to Camp Shelby on Saturday by noon. I was out of town at the moment and couldn't be back until Sunday, but I called all the guys that were under my supervision at that time, told them, say, hey, I need y'all to report to Camp Shelby. And we were told to bring enough clothes for 3 days. And because honestly, they figured be down there a few days, they get everything kind of cleared up. We could pull back and let the real work take place, like the cleaning the roads up and all that stuff. So anyway, I get to Camp Shelby on Sunday about noon, and somewhere around, I'm going to say 2 to 3 a.m. Monday morning, the weather starts changing pretty dramatically, even at Shelby. We started having, it was like an ominous, just a roar. I don't know how to explain it. It was just something about the way the atmosphere felt that I knew deep down this wasn't good, because we're 60 miles north of the beach, and I don't know. It's kind of like animals, they say they sense bad weather. I knew something was brewing, and it wasn't good. I mean, obviously we knew it was a hurricane coming, but it just had this feeling this is not going to be good. And so about 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning, the wind started picking up at Shelby. It started raining, just torrential rains. Wind starts getting higher and higher. We started having trees break and fall right there where we were. Roof in the building we own raises up, goes up and down a couple. I mean, it was crazy. It was and this went on up till about noon that day. I mean, it was like a continuous. You took a beating for a little while, and then it calmed down, and it whoops you again. But I watched a Connex trailer go from one end of one of those big Connex storage containers go from just down the street from us that way down the street. And these things are huge. I mean, big at Shelby. I don't know what they had in them, but then within a few minutes, the thing comes back to about where it started. It's like it went that way, and then when the wind changed, the backside, the hurricane gets it and moves it back. It was crazy. So we knew that whatever just happened on the coast had to be bad, because we had to cut our way out of Shelby. We like to have an agent killed at Shelby. A tree fell and cut his truck literally half in two, and I don't know how it didn't get him. It missed him by inches. I mean, when it went through his truck, and so we had to cut our way off base at Shelby out to 49, and then had to cut a pass from 49 to Gulfport. It took us from, we left Shelby at around 3 p.m. on Monday. It made landfall on Monday morning about 8:45, and that's when it actually reached shore. And we made it to Waveland, Mississippi the next Tuesday morning at 7 o'clock. We made it to Gulfport sometime in the night of Monday, and then we were able to get to Waveland the next morning. And when I tell you that it was just total devastation, it was one end of the beach to the other. And I'm talking about not just at the beach. We're talking north of 10 was everything's just gone. You could see that the water had actually crossed Interstate 10, which is a good piece from the beach. If you know where Gulfport is and where the beach is and where 10 is, when we get to Waveland, you can see the water lines on the bridges, on the bridge railings where the water actually covered I-10. There was it was probably a 2,000 or 3,000 gallon Jet A fuel tank sitting in the middle of I-10. It came from an airport. Just things like that. So it's kind of walking you up to, it's going to get worse the further we go south, right? And like I said, when we got to Waveland, it was just total destruction. There were people standing in the middle of 603, I think that is. It runs from 10 down to Bay St. Louis. There was people just standing up there was water still up to 603 on both sides of the road, all the way up to the blacktop. But there were people all down the highway, and I'm thinking, what are all these people doing to stand out in the middle of the road? Well, it didn't occur to me. The reason they were standing up in the middle of the road is because their homes were gone. They had been pushed there by the water, and there was cows and horses commingling with the people. Like, there's cattle walking down the road, there's horses walking down the road, and there's cars upside down. There was a house in the middle of 603. There was a boat at the drive-through at the Burger King, I believe, up under the thing. I'm thinking, wow. And then there was a car dealership as you get down to 603 where it hits 90. There was a car dealership kind of to the left right there, and every car in that parking lot was all stacked on top of each other. I mean, just like you took them and just made a pyramid or something out next to the building where the water got them and pushed them up to the building. They couldn't go any further, and they just kind of piled up. And then there was a shopping center right down at 90, and I mean, it was just people brought their cars there to park them to get away from the beach. You know, that stayed or maybe left home and left the cars kind of away from where they thought the surge would reach, and it went much further. I mean, I think it went almost to the Kill up there, Kill, Mississippi, up 603, some of those lower areas. I mean, it was unbelievable what it did. And you know, that was a taste of seeing your own people destroyed. So, yeah, that one got to a lot of people. I went back down there for like 5 years straight to a certain place, just between Bay St. Louis and Waveland for like 5 years. Every year on the anniversary, I'd go down there and just kind of sit and look, because it sticks with me today. I get teared up thinking about it. Found a lot of severely injured people, and,
What was y'all's role? Were y'all there to rescue?
Our first role was search and rescue, and then it turned into body recovery. And search and rescue, honestly, we didn't do a lot of search and rescue. We did a lot of search and find bodies. There was a few people that we were able to, help get them out of there. A couple people that had survived the flood and was just, I'd say, displaced or whatever, and we get them to one of the centers. But the next role was when we found bodies, we had to mark them, GPS them, and then we would go. Well, the intent was coroners were going to come and collect, who we found, and that didn't work out. They were too overwhelmed. I mean, they was just. I think Mississippi had somewhere around 300 that we located in that, in that coastal area. So it was, and two, the coroners couldn't get to them. Where they were. I mean, it was in places that you wouldn't imagine, out in the middle of fields or whatever, and you just couldn't get to them in vehicles. Because we did grid searches. We walked. We did it by air. We did it by foot. And it was tough because we're Bureau of Narcotics agents. We didn't have, and I'm not whining, I'm not complaining. I'd do it again today. If the bell rings, I'm headed. But we didn't have, steel shank boots and steel toe, because you were walking on literally just hundreds of houses that were collapsed, and we had to dig. You had to dig through rubble, and of course, some people kind of knew who stayed. There were some people who said, "I don't think so and so left," so we kind of knew to look in that particular area, But a lot of it was just pilfering through, or when the equipment would find them, moving stuff out of the road.
How long were you there?
Almost a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I went for 3 days, right? And 13 days later, I had on that third change of clothes, and I think my underwear would stand up on their own. I think 13 days later, I made my first trip home, was able to do a quick shower. I think they gave us 24 hours or either 2 days. I can't remember, but it was a turnaround. Came home, you got to remember now at home, they were out of power for 6-7 days. So,
do you think it was just the overwhelm of destruction that God used that to kind of bring you back to Him, or to humble you, or whatever, or was it just being overwhelmed?
It's another sign that I'm in charge here. You don't control this, and you can't really. People say you can control your own destiny. I think you can control some of that, but I realized that, hey, there's a. If you couldn't see there's a much bigger power than where we are, then something's wrong with you.
Thank you. And I know this year, because of the anniversary, I know you got interviewed a lot, and there's a lot of attention to that. And I know it brought back a lot of memories, and I know you put a lot of pictures on social media and all. So I know that was but thank you for your service, and I know that was traumatic. Can you think of, I know there's thousands of times, but can you think of one time where you really saw the hand of God in your life in some of the work that you did, the dangerous work?
Man, there's several. And, like I said, sometimes you don't see the sign right then, you think about it later. Probably the first one, and there's a couple I can tell you, but probably the first one I was doing. When I was working for the Bureau of Narcotics, I was doing an undercover buy. I was buying drugs down in Wyandotte, Mississippi, and we went to this particular drug dealer's house, and he was not there that day. And there was two other people that this informant, the guy that was taking me to these people who made those introductions, we were slowly trying to work him out of the picture because, informants just cause all kind of problems. They'll lie, and they don't understand that you can't lie when you go to court. You can't. I mean, they'll tell you anything. Sometimes you got to take. A lot of times you got to take what they say with a grain of salt. You got to corroborate what they tell you before you take what they say and do anything with it. But anyway, we was trying to work this guy out of the picture. And so we go to this guy's house. He was a well-known crack cocaine dealer down there, and wasn't home that day. I'd already purchased from him before, but it was still kind of, he still didn't fully trust me. And so the informant still was playing a role. Excuse me. And so we drove to another guy's house who he knew had some cocaine, and we were going to just go buy some from him, not so the morning wouldn't be wasted, I guess you'd say, which is really not a good practice because drug dealers or people who do this for like a career or for a living are not as dumb as some people want to give them credit to be sometimes. I mean, that's what they do. Mm-hmm. That's their game, right? And it's like cat and mouse. So he has informants too. So we go by from this guy named Doc. I don't remember, they just called him Doc. He always said, "I'm your doctor." That's what he'd tell me. "I'm your doctor," So I bought some crack from him when we were pulling out. He said, "Well, let's just go ahead and buy from old so-and-so up here too." Again, not a good practice because these people realize there's no way you're consuming that much in that moment and then going right back to the next guy and buying some more. But, you're undercover agent, you're young. Again, you think you're invincible. So we go to this other lady's house and we buy from her. So I got two buys. Boy, I'm feeling good, Well, on the way out, guess who we see his car's on? The first guy, the one we initially went to. Unbeknown to us, he had passed us at both of those other houses. So he had made contact with Doc, and Doc had told him, they picked up a 40 or whatever it was we got. And I don't know if he had talked to the lady or not, but I know for sure because later on we confirmed this that he had talked to Doc. But we get back to his house. And so I'm sitting in the driveway, and the door opens on the house. A mobile home, had a high porch on the front. And door opens, and he walks out with a bulldog on a chain, and which was not in character for him. He usually didn't do that. He usually just walked out and talked, But he has this pit bull on a chain, and the dog's barking and slobbering, and, I'm thinking, dog is a big dog. And I'm sitting on a 45, by the way. My pistol was under me, which is, again, not the best place to have it. But I got it under my leg, I believe it was under my leg or right there under the seat. It was right down here, I remember. And so I'm sitting there in the car, and he comes walking out, and, "What do y'all want?" And I told him. And he looks at me and said, "Well, I just saw you buying something from Doc." And he mentioned the lady. And at that time, he didn't say he talked to Doc. He just said, I saw you at Doc. Well, I lied, which is common in undercover work. It's acceptable to an extent. I mean, I couldn't obviously tell him I was MBN agent, so you have to lie to a certain level. I'm not talking about lie about what you bought and all that. But I told him, "I don't know what you told. I didn't buy it. We were just down there." Well, he knew I'd already bought something. So as I'm giving him my crock of manure, and I kind of looked at the informant's driving, which is also not a good practice. You should always drive because you don't ever know what that fool's going to do when something happens. And here's a perfect example. When I turned back to look at the guy to tell him that I hadn't bought anything, I'm looking down the barrel of a 45. And I could see down the barrel, I could see the hollow point. I mean, I could see the blooming, and his finger is on the trigger. It was a 1911, either a Colt or a Springfield. I'm not sure which one it was. But I could see him, he was giving me the business about, who are you and all this stuff. And I'm going, "Man, calm down. I won't say get your finger off the darn trigger, but that sounds like a cop, because we're trained. Don't put your finger on the trigger till you're ready to shoot. till you've engaged a target or whatever. So I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this guy, and and through training and just my life of handling guns, I know that when you excited and moving, it's easy to squeeze the trigger, right? Well, I could see that blooming 45 hollow point. Every time that barrel would come around, I could see that darn thing up there. I know it's hard to believe that, but I'm not recommending go look down the barrel of no 45, but you can see down that barrel when the light hits it. And I'm about to change my clothes, I'm thinking, oh, this is it. This fool finna shoot us. Well, I'm also thinking go, to the informant, which he's not thinking like me. He's Superman, right? So I think he thought he was gonna get out and take the gun from the dude or something. But he got the car in park and sitting over there just trying to talk. And I'm thinking, what's a car doing in park? We need to be accelerating. So this goes on for a few seconds, and then finally the guy calms down and tells us basically to get out of his yard. Believe it or not, we were able to come back a few days later. And no, I take that back. It wasn't him. We didn't go back to him. Sorry. But we ended up arresting a few days later on the sales that we had previous from him. That was my next encounter with him. But at that moment, I can remember when you know somebody intervened, your light flashes before you, and I know what he's doing with that gun. His finger's on the trigger. And I can remember in the back of my mind thinking, God, please don't let this be the place.
And he was serious too. I mean, that's the thing about those, and I'm just speaking from the other side of that coin, right? Whenever you've been pinpointed and they say, okay, this is, this dude's a narc, man. This dude's the police. Once that comes down, man, I mean, anything can happen. I mean, I can imagine that had to be terrifying for you, right?
It was a life. I mean, I say life
altering.
It was a great training experience that I didn't want to go through again.
I know that's right.
I
man.
think it's cool how Jesus brings people together because Jimmy's 30-year narcotics agent, and Damon, you 30 years in the narcotics game. The other side,
huh? Yeah.
Well, look, I used to, and I've said this many times, is people are always talking about people in prison and how they're all bad. But I've said that, and Scott, you probably heard me say this in some of my speeches. Prison's not full of all bad people. Prison's full of a lot of people who made bad choices that were good. I know some people that were great people. Right. I know I got some friends right now today that went to prison and got out, and they're model citizens today and were before they did that little thing that got them to prison. Mm-hmm. So everybody who gets arrested is not necessarily a bad person.
And I know, and I had the privilege or honor. I know one time when you were over a unit, I got to go with y'all on ride along, whatever you want to call it. But you always treated people with, and I know you had to do your job, and but you always treated people with decency. And I know where we live, you try to give people chances and out, whether they chose it or not. And I know that's a different story, but I know you can look back at your whole life, especially you being a daredevil, about how God has spared your life, and there's a reason why you're here.
Tell people all the time, I'm probably one of the luckiest humans alive. I mean, and I hate to call it a success story, but going from being a daredevil and a little hellion to being able to make a career and a life in law enforcement and have an opportunity to help people. And doing just the dumb stuff I did, like I said, running from the police, and I wasn't scared of anything with a motor on it. My car had one speed, and that was wide open. I mean, when I went. I got there. My granddaddy rode with me to Jackson one time, and he told Mom when we got back, that's the first time I ever flew to Jackson that fast. That's the lowest he ever flew to Jackson. He said, that's the lowest I've ever flown anywhere to Jackson. But, I just very fortunate. And I think, when you talk about faith, I think that God spares people, even people that do dumb stuff sometimes, because He's got another mission somewhere for you.
Absolutely.
And I've questioned it over and over, how to get in this. And Knox Ross says he remembers me in school saying that I was going to be a cop one day. But I think he misunderstood me, saying I running from the police all the time.
Well, I remember one time, and Damon, these are people, I know you don't know these names, but one time I had you come speak at the school, and Connie Wilson happened to be there, and Trey Rogers. And Connie worked for the ATF, and Trey retired from the Attorney General of Law Enforcement. And I remember asking Mr. Gates, I said, did you think, y'all are pretty high esteemed in law enforcement. And I said, did you think that they would be in law enforcement? He said, the other side.
Yeah, he probably figures me pranks that I pulled at school, I'd be in jail. You know,
You were infamous, didn't you?
I
Hide
put-
some chickens.
I put 25 chickens in a classroom one night, and put
Damon, this is
smoke bomb in the bathroom.
40 years later at this school where I used to coach, and they're still talking about Jimmy because they. I better not say break in, but
No,
he
Well, we did in a way, but it was
They
it
snuck
wasn't with
into
intent.
school.
It wasn't with intent to steal or do
And,
anything. We was a joke.
left 30 chickens in the school, so when the teachers got there next morning for class,
Man, and look, funny thing was, y'all, they came on the intercom. They didn't even have to ask questions. They said, Jimmie Nichols, Rod Varner, Brent Bowman,
Come to the
Keith
office.
Rhodes. I need you to see y'all. Mr. Gates' office. And I'm thinking, who told? And look, we all lied, denied, and didn't accuse anybody. We just lied and denied till it got to Keith. And Keith could not lie to Billy Rhodes. His daddy was a basketball coach, and his daddy looked at him and said, "Keith, do you have anything to do with this?" No, Keith just dropped his head. He didn't say yes or no, which he knew. I mean,
that was it right there.
Yeah, that was a yes.
Damon Keith is married to Michelle that was on our podcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, good
Okay.
people, both of them.
Oh, great people.
But
Hey.
what you were just saying, Jimmy, man, I think if you were to ask most of the people who are in prison, no one there really thinks that they're a bad person. I think that's kind of a confusion that people have. I mean, a lot of times they do really bad things, but for the most part, I think they think they're doing it for the right reasons. And that's the sad reality of it is where you come from and what you're taught when you're growing up and the things that you see, the male role models in your life for a male, and those role models can be good or they can be bad, but that tends to be the track that you follow, and that's what you see manhood as being.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to reach people like myself who, like I told you earlier, man, believe those lies and follow those lies.
Well, I think that Damon, and again, it just shows you because the people that we tend to look up to are people of faith. And like where Jimmy grew up, you're
Yes.
talking about farmers and people like Billy Rose, which great people. But I know like when we had Brad Hancock on here, Brad was talking about the only men he knew were gang members. And that's who he wanted to be like because that's the only, there was no dad at home. So it's really important. It's funny, God has a plan for success if we follow it, but we don't follow it. It's like let the chips fall where they may. So,
Yep, no doubt, man, no doubt.
Jimmy, getting back, I know we detoured there, but tell us a little bit about your Air Force career. What was your MOS and what you did and some experiences there?
I was security. Then it was security police. Now it's referred to as security forces. We worked jointly with other branches to secure air bases. Set up. We would help. Like if there was air bases set up in the field, we did perimeter security. We also did flight line security for aircraft. Some of your priority resources, such as nuclear weapons and that type of stuff. Pretty interesting career. I loved it. Wish I'd have stayed in. I cut it short. Got a little disgruntled. I don't know. I just, again, I was still kind of decision-making process. I was working at that time. I was working when I was in the Air Force, I came out and I went to work for the Forest Police Department. I was in the Mississippi Air National Guard. And it seemed like, and it wasn't, it was just my mind, it seemed like that was interfering with my police job. I would have probably been better off if I'd have stayed in the Air Force. I just went full-time stay.
Did you select that in the Air Force, that career, or was that what they gave you?
Your test scores had something to do with that, but I did tell them I wanted to do. I didn't want a desk job, and I didn't want to, I didn't want a cook or, not knocking. You got to have all those people, but that just wasn't me. I wanted something that had a little excitement in it, and Air Force has, several different operator sides, or when I say operator, like special warfare units like pararescue. You got TACPs, you got air traffic controllers or combat control guys, and then you got security forces. So,
were you interested in law enforcement at that point, or was it?
Yeah, I was. I was always interested in it. It was just this little nick, something about it that I never will forget. I was home for something, and Joe Rigby, my uncle over in Forest, knew the police chief in Forest, and I was kind of looking for a job in law enforcement, so he took me over and introduced me to Jamie. Well, Jamie already knew me because I ran from him, and so he was the chief that I took on the high-speed chase. And I never will forget
Did he
him.
catch you?
Oh no, he caught me later sitting in the parking lot. But and then back then it was a little different today. I mean, it was pretty much he put me in the car and rode me around for about an hour and chewed my tail out and took me to my aunt's house and threatened to tell my mama. Just all kind of, but I don't even think he wrote me a ticket. But anyway, Joe had Jamie come by to see us at his house. Actually, it was Joe's house, and told him that, hey, look, nephew's looking for a job, interested in law enforcement. Jamie said, well, I know one thing, he can drive. And fortunately for me, I didn't have a driver's record. I mean, back then, it's different as today. I think I may have had a ticket in high school, but, none of that stuff back then shows up like it does today. I mean, unless it was pretty serious, So Visa gave me an opportunity. He hired me as a dispatcher. He said, I'm going to put you in dispatch for, maybe 6 months, and when I have a patrol job open, I'll consider moving you. Of course, he ended up moving me quicker than he thought because of somebody tired or quit or something. I don't remember, but he walked in one morning and said, hey, you starting on patrol in the morning. That's kind of how it started. And that's kind of how my law enforcement career kicked off.
And how many years were you there at Forrest?
5 total.
Oh, really? I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah.
Tell us some of the highlights or funny things that happened at that time that stand out to you.
In all honesty, working with the police department, I tell people all the time that was really the best part of my career as far as your people skills. You learn more for dealing with people, and I just enjoyed working with the business people in Forrest, meeting all of them. And I had a habit. Jamie was big on this too, the chief, who's deceased now. But Jamie was big on us visiting with our business people, go see them. And I kind of took that to heart. I would go business to business and see the owners and drink coffee with them, whatever. Just go hang out for a minute and say, hey, how you doing? If you need anything, here's how to get us. Or if you need some help with something, you can call me direct. That's kind of how I got started, and kind of got into the traffic thing for a little while, and quickly learned ticket writing wasn't for me. I mean, I wrote some tickets, wrote a bunch of them at one stretch because one day the chief told us we wasn't writing enough, and the next day he told me you wrote too many. So I said, you didn't make up your mind. What you want me to do here, You said write more tickets. I think I wrote everybody in Forrest one that night. But, I quickly saw that type law enforcement, not knocking that either. It takes a different type person and skills to do, and I just wasn't really a traffic guy. And so I started paying attention to people who we knew in town were dealing drugs and, hauling drugs and what have you. And I kind of started, I hate to use the word targeting, but watching those type people in Forrest, and was able to make several arrests. And then it was kind of a chance deal that one day an MBN agent walked in and said, hey, we kind of been watching what you're doing with your some of your work over here and want to know if you're interested in. Back then they recruited a little bit. And so asked me if I was interested in coming to work for them, which I did at some point, and never looked back.
And how long were you with MBN?
26 or 7.
And you had a plethora of job titles and all. What some of the things you did with?
Well, started off working we had back then. They had what they call an undercover pool. If you came to work there then, you were going to do undercover work for a little while. And then, court dictates how long that lasts. I mean, in other words, once you go to court a few times, it don't take long for word to get out that dude, I mean, obviously you have to you have a right to face your accuser. So at some point you sit in the courtroom with them. So, I did that for, I don't know, probably 3 years of undercover work. They moved me up to the Delta a couple times, working in a bar up in Cleveland, over in the Meridian area, out in the DeKalb area, why not, all those areas. I bought drugs all over East
And when you
Central
were in the
Mississippi.
Delta at a bar, what was you? Were you the bartender?
Man, my job, I had the hardest job on earth. They sent about 5 of us up there for this operation. There was a bar in Cleveland called the Oasis. And I think it was the name of it, Oasis. But, yeah, they sent about 5 of us up there initially. And our job was to go hang out in that bar. That just was, that was awful.
Play pool, listen to jukebox.
Give you like, they got these special ops funds or whatever they called them back then, where they gave you like $40 or $50 a day to like buy drinks for people that you were working on. I mean, that was a bad move to give me money to buy drinks with. I mean, in those days, but no, it was that was probably, when I say fun, meeting people in a uniform was fun, but then this part was fun because it was cat and mouse game. And my partner over there probably understands this too, like you said from the other side, is that's what, when guys or girls are doing that, that's their job in a sense. And their job's also to make sure they can identify the police. And I can't tell you how many times I've been asked, are you the police? Excuse me.
And Damon, I know one time we were talking about a guy from the coast that arrested you, and you said that you were expert at picking out narcs, but there was one guy on the coast that
Jamie Johnson.
Jamie Johnson.
Jamie Johnson, the best.
Besides Jimmie Nichols,
Besides Jimmie Nichols, that's right.
That wasn't the best.
That's right.
And what made him, Damon? What made him that you knew that, or what made somebody stand out?
He fit in. I mean, Jamie doesn't have any of the characteristics that you see that you would think of a police officer. Jamie looks like he would get you behind the bar and beat you up and take your wallet. You know what I mean? And I mean, he puts that persona. I mean, like when he pulls up, man, they'll be blunt, this, that. I mean, he doesn't give you any indication that he's the police. He seems like the guy who would run from the police as soon as he saw him.
This is going to sound crazy, and I'm not talking about drug users and stuff, but honestly, to work undercover and work some of those positions, it's actually good to have a little bit of experience as kind of being a little roughneck.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like a roughneck using drugs, because we had a zero drug use policy. If they caught you, I mean, even in undercover capacity, people think you can smoke drugs. No, you can't. They would fire you on the spot. Now, if somebody stuck a 38 in the ear and cocked a hammer, and said, take a drag off that joint, I'd probably swallowed the joint. I mean, if that was the scenario here. But there's a reason for no drug use, and that's because of, obvious, but the addiction. If you did it, who knows tomorrow if you're not going to be doing it on your own somewhere. I mean, there's all kind of things you could lay out why you don't do it.
It would seem like it would be real easy for someone in that job to basically fall into that lifestyle pretty easily, especially if that's something that, if they have those kind of, high testosterone, you know what I mean?
Adrenaline.
Right.
And it happens. That's why screening and early background investigations, and I know you say, well, how did you make it? You ran from the police. I mean, that's running from the police in a car. I mean, there's things that, there's key things that you need to really pay attention to with people when you put them in those positions. And because, like he said, it's extremely easy. You're in the car with 3 or 4 guys that's got dope on them, and you're out there sometimes just you and them. I mean, you got a surveillance team back there somewhere, but they ain't in the car with you, and they're not in the bar with you. Sometimes they may walk in, but like he said, people who have trained themselves to look for people, they'll pick one out of the crowd in a minute. You got to learn how to carry yourself. And of course, like I said, I was a darn redneck. I'd almost never seen drugs. I was like maybe a senior in high school or even in college before I ever even knew what the crap looked like. I had a guy one time ask me if I wanted some crank, and I was like, what's that? And he said, man, it's the stuff these truck drivers use. Back then, that's what they called it. It was crank. It kind of came from the biker side, because they'd hide it in the crankshafts and everywhere. But in the cover. But he said, you want some crank? I'm like, man, what is that? He said, nose candy. I said, you still hadn't hit a nerve with me. What you talking about? He pulls these little baggies out and sets it on the hood of my car with a mirror and a razor blade. And I said, what do you do with it? He said, you snort it. I said, man, I can't even take Afrin. I said, I can't snort that meth. But that's the first time I'd ever seen it. But it was amazing to me leaving that culture, leaving home, like rural, redneck Scott County, and going to Hines Community College. And gosh knows I'm not bashing Hines. I mean, this is everywhere in the world, y'all. I'm not saying it's just at Hines, so don't nobody get fired up about this. But you introduced to people from all over the place, all over the state, all over the country. And it was like a shock to me to see the different people doing the different kinds of drugs that people were doing. I mean, we went to this nightclub there in Jackson one night, and I had these guys, 3 or 4, just walk up out of nowhere and won't know if I wanted some eggs. I said, what? X? No, I take a Coors Light. I mean, but I don't know X. They said, oh, man, this will make you party, you know, and make you sweat. No, you know, and all. I said, man, why I won't do all that?
And the stuff they got out now is crazy. Some of the stuff they're taking now. What was give us a good funny story when you was working undercover.
Okay.
That you can tell on there.
I don't know. I don't know what the statute of limitations are for some of these people, you know. There's a bunch of them. I mean, trying to think of working undercover. I can tell you one thing that happened to me when I was working at that level. I was coming home from working, and this is another one of them moments where you can say, where your faith later on, you go, the good Lord was with me again. And I want to hit me in just a minute about one of the funny stories, but I was driving home from work one day, and I saw a guy. I saw a girl and a guy on the side of the highway. Car was smoking on the opposite side of the interstate, and I was in a car that wasn't marked, didn't have visible lights or anything in it, and I was ready to get home. But I saw the girl was holding a baby, and steam was coming out from under the hood of the car. So golly, you know, I'm trying to get to the house, but I got to at least go back and see if I can help him. So I turned around went through the median, came back up and pulled up to him. And the girl's over there holding a baby, and there's a guy who walked to me when I was getting out I was in a truck. He walking up to me, and I said, hey, man, you need some help? He said, yeah, my vehicle's running hot. I need to get to the next exit if there's a hotel there. And sure enough, there's an apple tree in the far. It used to be Best Western Forest. This is before they built those new ones. This is several years back. So I told him, well, all right, I'll take you up to the next exit and get you to the hotel, drop you off. So the girl and the baby get in the front seat. The guy gets behind me in this seat. And we go to Forest. And all the way, the girl never says anything. She's quiet. Hindsight, there were some indicators I should have known something was up. But, I mean, you know, she didn't know me. And, you know me, I'm usually talking, but I'm talking to the dude in the back seat. You know, me and him was kind of carrying on conversation. He's telling me he's from Monroe and da-da-da. So, anyway, we get to the hotel. I drop him off. No sooner than I pull out in the street, over Forest Police Department's channel, I reached back and turned my radio back on because it had a little cover plate. That truck had nothing on it to let you know it was police. So I flip a little cover plate up, turn the radio back on. No sooner than I turned it on, I hear Forest PD saying they need an officer at the Best Western Hotel. And I said, well, I'm Forest. And see, previously worked in Forest, so everybody there knew me, like the locals. Mm-hmm. So I got on the radio. I said, look, I'm right here. I had it. What do you got? Well, I got a disturbance. I'm not sure what it is. I said, well, yeah, go ahead and send a marked unit, but I'll turn around because I knew the clerk. The lady that run the hotel was a girl named Robin. I can't remember the last name, but Robin was her name. And anyway, I pull up, and I see the guy that just got out of my truck running. And it took me a second for it to dawn on me that's that guy, because I just see a guy running. But anyway, I see the clerk or the lady holding the door shut on the front doors, and she sees me, and she motions me in, so I go in, and the lady with the baby's crying and all upset. I thought they just got in some kind of altercation, or something. And I said, what are you crying about? What's wrong? I just dropped you off. Well, what's going on here? And she said, I'm sorry. She said, I couldn't tell you this when you're in the car, but he killed my mama and kidnapped me and my baby in Monroe.
Oh, wow.
Now, you heard what I told you a while ago. This guy was sitting behind me in that seat. And so I said, dude, what? She said, he murdered my mama, shot my mama, da-da-da, and kidnapped me and the baby and was taking us to Georgia. So the PD unit comes pulling up, and I pointed. I said, look, a guy just ran that way. She claims he killed her mom in Monroe. We don't know if this is true or not, right? So he goes, and he sees the guy going down that. You know that road that runs kind of alongside I-20? It goes up behind the Coliseum and all. He was going down that road. So he confronts him and arrests him. Brings him back, or detains him, cuffs him, because, like I said, we were told that he murdered somebody. So he puts him in cuffs. On his person, finds a pistol. Brings it back. Brings him and the gun back. Well, by that time, I'd called West Monroe Police Department to see if they'd had a shooting or anything the night before. Nothing been reported yet. I said, well, can y'all do me a favor and go to this residence? Because this lady I got here in Forest, Mississippi is telling me that this dude killed her mama in the kitchen. 45 minutes later, get a phone call, he got a body. I'm like, holy crap. But again, that's not a funny story, but that's one of them stories where you go,
the Lord was with you.
because, what prevented him from shooting me in the back of the head or dumping me out on the interstate and taking
Did you
my
ever have a
truck?
chance to ask him that?
No, I had the only communication I had with him after that was when we went to trial in Monroe. I had to go back and testify. Me and the officer who found the gun had to go back to West Monroe. We were over there for a week-long trial. He ended up getting life in prison.
I'm like, Nicole, man, oh my goodness, that.
Yeah.
He could have just taken your vehicle. He wouldn't even need a ride, right? He's already. What does he have to lose at that point,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah, it like I said, I don't know what kept him from doing it. Couldn't tell you.
The good Lord.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So you went from working undercover, different roles. I know your last job, you were over all the training for the whole state, for every.
Yes, sir. I went from working doing undercover work to what they call a case agent, which is actually the agent that handles all the workings of the case. In other words, I don't like using word controller, but you'll have undercover agents working for you in a sense, or making your buys or informants or whatever. And so I went to a case agent position, and later on was promoted to a group supervisor, which I was a group supervisor over the Meridian, a group in the Meridian field office. And then I don't remember what year it was, but it was in my 10th or 11th year at MBN. I was promoted to captain and brought to Jackson. I was captain over the Jackson division, which was a 9-county area. And then they moved me for a while into doing liaison work. When Marshall Fisher was director, he had me running all over the state, like meeting with other sheriffs and chiefs, kind of a middleman type deal between the Bureau and those agencies, seeing what they needed, what we could do to help them in their town or whatever. And then I went back we had the captain who took my place moved, and they put me back in Jackson, over the Jackson office again for a few years, and then I was then promoted to training director.
And what was your favorite part of all those different jobs?
Man, I don't know. I loved it all. I really did. Probably the funnest part was being when I was over. At one time, I headed up a unit in Jackson called a JET unit.
That's when
Jackson
I
Enforcement
ride
Team.
along.
Yeah, okay.
You and Shane Gibson.
It was a multi-agency task
There was
force.
two. I can't remember. There's
Shane Scott Kelly,
but there were
Seth
two
Wagner.
African American guys there. I think they were twins.
Ronald and Donald.
They were with
Ronald
us that
Rhodes
night.
and Donald Rhodes.
Damon, I thought it'd be, fun or exciting. So Jimmy picked me up after church on Sunday night. And it's funny. They had their little meeting, and they had a little 3-ring binder that was going through it. And the first person that 3-ring binder, Damon, was the guy that went to my church.
Got him.
And I was like, oh, no, this ain't good. But anyway, we left after church on Sunday night, and Monday morning, I said, Jimmy, I got to go to work. It literally was all night long, and I had to go teach the next day. So he dropped me off at the school. I'm sure Miss Gates thought I'd had a rough night. But I know that was, and people understand now how crazy it was when you were over that unit when the, I guess, meth epidemic in Mississippi. But
And methamphetamine around the 2000 mark, 98 to about, 2005 or 6 was just off the charts. We were working back to back meth labs. Leake County, Mississippi, believe it or not, led the state of Mississippi in methamphetamine arrest in 2 years straight. Leake County.
And at that time, you didn't really know about how to handle the chemical. It was also It was
When we first started getting labs, we'd only had 1 or 2 labs ever in history seized by the Bureau of Narcotics up till those years, and they were like in the late 80s era when you had the P2P and those type methods of making it. Well, they came out with it's German scientists back in the day came out with a what they called a Nazi method, which was basic home chemicals that you
Shake and bake.
Yeah, shake and bake. They called it all kind of stuff. We called it Nazi meth. But they figured out a quick way to make it, and it was very powerful.
Yeah.
And it was easy to make. You could do it in just a little bit, and you could do it concealed. I mean, you could do it. I mean, you didn't have to have all these big, triple neck beacon and all this stuff. You just could do it right there in your living room or backyard or wherever with some.
Man, I've seen guys down in Biloxi, Gulfport area, man, doing it while they're driving down the road, man.
Yeah.
I'm talking about while they're driving down the road in casino parking garages, man. I mean, you name it. And I mean, the smartest thing they ever did was stopping from being able to sell that Sudafed at the stores. And they brought it back now. But I mean, at that time, and I'm sure you can verify this for me, Jimmy. At that time, man, it was everywhere, man. It was crazy.
What we learned from a couple years of fighting this crap, talking about fighting the labs, was that there was one key chemical that they all had to have.
Yes.
And that was pseudoephedrine, ephedrine and pseudoephedrine. So we lobbied the legislature hard it took us a long time to do it because pharmaceutical companies fought us tooth and nail. And I do mean fought tooth and nail. We were at the legislature in the wee hours of the nights, many nights, with our legislators and senators working on trying to get this thing, get them to put pseudoephedrine, just put it behind the counter in the pharmacy. Well, we actually shot to make it a prescription, which they did. And just like we told them, we had a 92% decrease in meth labs almost overnight. Mm-hmm. And that maintained for a long time. Now, a lot of people said, well, y'all said it was going to get rid of the meth. No, nobody said it was going to get rid of the meth because, as our friend here knows, there's plenty ways to get meth. All right. What we said was it would eliminate meth labs, and it would take these children who were having to live in this bull crap, laying up there in a baby cradle while mama's cooking meth right beside her. That's what we were trying to get rid of. Now, we would have liked to have got rid of all of it, but you'll never get rid of all of it. I don't care what you do. All of it's not going away.
Well, I remember you and I were doing some speaking things together then. I remember you telling stories about people renting a hotel room to cook it, and then a mom would come in with her baby and use that microwave to heat up a bottle, and then the baby's got...
And then think about when they made it in the room, the chemical, the way it permeates the air and the curtains and the sheets and we all know that most of them places don't wash all them blooming blankets every day. So you come in after a couple's been in there making meth all night and flop down on the comforter or even the carpet, just walking through the carpet, and we see, well, that's just minute. It probably, who knows how much that chemical is going to take to trigger cancer cells in your body to activate. I think most people probably have some type of cells somewhere, and it's just waiting for something to jumpstart it. I ain't a doctor, but I mean, gosh, you look around, everybody you know has had some form of cancer.
I think it's interesting, and Damon, I'd always have Jimmie come. You need to hook me up with a new NBN guy because you always would come and do like educational things and talk, especially with all these new drugs to help our recovery people. But I can remember you and I were at Jackson Prep, and that was right. The meth labs had just kind of died down, and you said, Damon, what we would do, Jimmie would kind of do his NBN presentation about the different kind of drugs and all, and I'd do some kind of little faith thing. But I remember you saying that the meth labs have died down and said, this is going to offend a lot of people. But what we're seeing right now more than anything else is prescription medicine. Mm-hmm. A problem with that. And Damon, I know in our world that you and I deal with, we see that as much now, and I want to be careful because I know this isn't a controversial podcast, but a lot of the people we deal with, they'll be on something, and I'll just say like Adipex, and I'll say, well, the doctor prescribed that for me, and they are so crazy, and it's almost, in recovery, we get these little chips for being sober, and I gave a individual clean chip for being clean 5 years. She can't have a conversation. She's on so much medicine that she can't even function. And you think, man, this poor old lady, and she's like my age. And but I can distinctly remember when you said that, and it seemed like you were prophetic because since then, that's what we deal with a whole lot now.
most prescription medications that are prescribed the right way and used the right way are good. I mean, when I say good, if treating a symptom. Unfortunately, over time, and maybe it's not so bad today as it was 15 years ago or 10 years ago, but a lot of physicians would prescribe, things that really wasn't even for that particular, they give you something for, say, weight loss or whatever, that you shouldn't be taking.
Well, a lot of it's a trade-in, man. Like, I see people, I've been in recovery ministry for a long time, and I've seen people come in on the H word, and I've seen people come in on the synthetic version of that, right? I'm not going to say the words, of course, but you know what I'm talking about. And there's virtually no difference. I mean, in fact, the synthetic, the subuning, you know what I mean? That stuff right there, man. I watched these guys, man, be down for 3 weeks, man. Yeah. So what happens is the pharmaceutical company said, well, let's find a way to legally make you do this. And then they become the drug dealer when it all boils down. And then not only are they getting the money from the people when they come up there to get it, but they're also being the government's also subsidizing that. So now they're pulling federal funds and state funds from the government while at the same time getting the money from the people. I mean, the reality is if you're addicted, you're addicted, man.
And the only thing that can solve that is Jesus. So like Jimmie said, you can do whatever to try to keep the drugs, but until your heart changes, you're gonna want that. And Damien, I know Jimmie comes across just a good old country boy and all, but he's way more intelligent than he presents himself.
We're gonna try to get him to arrest you before it's over with, bud.
But
be glad
I know when you used to do those presentations, you would go through the chemicals of a lot of these very popular drugs that doctors were prescribing, and there was one or two things different.
Molecules, yep.
The street meth.
It's just literally a molecule change. It's using nitrogen instead of oxygen,
exactly.
And that changes the molecule, and now you have meth instead of regular amphetamine. It's scary. I mean, and look, and I'm like you said, you can get into some controversy if you're not careful, but. We live in a society today where we think a pill fixes everything, even a switch sometimes instead of a pill would probably be way more suitable,
way more effective.
But I'm not going to argue with mamas and daddies about. But I'm just in life you're gonna have pain occasionally. You're gonna have things happen occasionally, and just because something hurts today don't mean you got to take a pill for it. I mean, I'm not telling you don't if you really hurt and the doctor thinks you actually really need it. But my point is, sometimes a little ache will go away in a minute.
Or even learning how to cope and all that. Yeah, and I know that you got to see a side of it that most people don't see is the abuse of it, and from the ones prescribing it to the ones abusing it. So it gives you a different perspective.
Well, what stands out to me the most are these people that, like I said, and I'm not making light of poor people or rich people or nobody else. But people that shouldn't have been where they are. What aggravates me about the drug trade is the destruction of just the self-being and families. I watched it just totally destroy good people, and I watched it rip families apart. I've watched it make people do things they would not have done if they wasn't under the influence. So I don't hate people, but I hate the drug trade, and I literally hate the drug trade.
Right.
And we without getting too controversial again, the stuff going on like with the boats coming across the water hauling it. It's a violent business, and
run by violent people.
They'll cut your head off. Yeah. They'll put you in a wood chipper. They'll poison your child. They'll let your child die from a drug overdose. So I can't be too sympathetic about the boat. So, I mean,
my mind, there's so many different things. And I don't want to say anything that upset too many people, but we went to a conference, and they had some of these things that they're promoting now to get people off of drugs, and they make it sound like, well, this is better because big pharmacy and all that. But I remember leaving that conference and Googling the thing that they were promoting, and it was a $800 million industry in the United States. So they were lobbying that this is good because it's not pharmaceutical and it grows natural and whatever. And I remember the guy that they had, which was, just a good old boy that, he was retired, a policeman, and he's promoting this. But they kept saying there's no overdose on this. And we had a friend whose wife had just overdosed. And I was wanting to say, can I? So a lot of that, I would encourage people to do their own, because their own research, because a lot of stuff that's being presented is a safe alternative to these hardcore drugs is not a safe alternative. So, hey, I got on the lighter note, you're like the Dos Equis man, the most interesting guy here. Because you have been we're going to get to the GrabUOne and the good things y'all do.
I don't always hit drug boats,
yeah.
But when I do.
But you had been, when you look, because you in the Air Force and narcotics agent, undercover, but you got to be and I was corrected. We had Luke Yancey come and speak to our guys at the jail, and I told somebody that he was a rodeo clown, and one of the guys in jail said, "Don't you call him that." I said,
bullfighter.
That's right. And so I appreciate Lonnie at the jail that correct me, but you got to be a bullfighter for a while. What in the world possessed you to do that? Was that just another adrenaline?
My mama forbid me as a kid to ride bulls because growing up in her life, they had a rodeo arena on the property. And she had seen what the rough stock does to people, So she didn't. My uncle rode them, my cousin rode them, and But I wasn't to get on a bull, which was like telling me to go get on 3 of them. Mm-hmm. Which I learned quick. I was not a bull rider. Awful. And so I don't even know how it really got started, but there was a little old rodeo arena up there at home called it belonged to Mac Thompson. It was Triple T, I believe. T&T or Triple T. And yes, you got to messing with a bull or two here or there, watching, my uncle and other friends in that area ride, and learned that I could, on my feet, was a little bit better than I was on their back. Of course, then I was 125 pounds and fast, and I could run forever. So I started fooling with them and just ended up doing a bunch of local rodeos, and then I got into the clown side of it too, doing acts. Me and my uncle would do some together, and we just had a good time doing it. Just Saturday night fun, But my mama hated it with a passion.
Well, I've seen when you had the little dynamite, and you were really a good actor, but you came out of retirement a few years. Look
what
at
happened here?
He just hit it. I came out of retirement, and I should have stayed in retirement.
And what?
There's my couch. Sorry.
Yeah,
wrong way.
That's where he ended up. Yeah.
And by the way, this couch is for sale. I'm just joking.
Yeah. And Damon, you need the money too, don't you?
If you got those pictures, he sent you back up, and
well, it's not letting me. I just need to switch between them, and it's only letting me get one at a time for some reason.
Yeah, there's a.
There you go.
Oh, come on back to the
first one.
It should be one of me in the wreck of the bull. Keep coming. Keep going.
Oh, that's the only ones I sent.
That's the only one you got?
That's the only ones I sent.
Well, that's enough.
You came out of retirement, and it was for a benefit or something, wasn't it?
So one of my dear friends that I grew up with, Jim Armstrong, Scott knows.
Yeah. We appreciate you too, Jim.
Yeah, he's a good one. He's home with he's got an infected place on his leg, hurt him pretty good right now. He got skint, it got infected somehow. But anyway, Jim called me one day and said, "Hey, look," he called me, and I knew he wanted something to do with rodeo when he said this. He said, "Hey, Poncho," that's what they call me.
That was your bullfight name.
He said, "Hey, Poncho," he said, my son's doing a benefit rodeo for a guy that had cancer, and I don't remember who it was, and they're doing it in Brandon at the the rodeo at the arena down on Marquette Road, and they trying to save money, so we need somebody to do it for free, basically. I said, "Oh man, I'll be glad to do it for y'all." And he said, "You really won't have to do nothing. It's just gonna be. I just need you to be the funny man for us." They got bullfighters. So the arena over there is about a mile long, looks like, and it seems like every bull that came out got past the bullfighters and ended up on my end of the arena with somebody either hung on them or they couldn't get the bull back. So I was naturally trying to help. Well, the 9th bull out of the chute. There's one of them. There's one of them. That's how I ended up in that hospital bed. If you notice, my neck is missing. There's the lick. That's when he got under my armpit, and then he flipped me out. He slammed me down on the back of my head. But that's what put me in the hospital. But anyway, that bull right there, boy got hung on him, and turns out he wasn't as hung as we thought he was. And just before we got to him to try to get him off the bull, he came off, and I short-stepped him, and he got a horn under my arm, and that's.
And you woke up in the hospital.
I woke up in the I walked out of the arena. I don't remember any of it, but I walked out of the arena.
Now, who is that guy?
Is that you?
That
was
looks like
me.
the Allman brother.
Yeah, that was me. That was in about,
that Jimi Hendrix?
95, 96, somewhere along
With
there.
an afro up.
Yeah, had some big hair.
Well, look, have you? Has Poncho done any more since that concussion?
Poncho's officially retired. I enjoyed it. I loved it. It was fun.
Yeah, that looks fun.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun right there. But look,
Yeah,
you can imagine. You can imagine the ragging I was getting from the nurses and everybody in the hospital. And they walk in and see a guy sitting up there with a painted face with a cowboy hat on,
Oh,
with drips
yeah.
in both arms. There was another picture of, I think I said to you, I was in the ambulance.
They were like, "What happened?"
That's what I was asking them. What happened? I remember one of them told me. I said because they was doing a concussion. What do they call it? The concussion chart that they ask you all these questions and protocol or whatever. And he asked me one question about did I know where I was, and I told him. I think I told him Pearl. We were in Brandon. I missed everything by I was close on most of it. But he got to the part about what happened to me, and I told him, well, I got hit by a car. I knew then. Yeah, and I really thought that.
Damien, are you have any rodeo knowledge at all?
No.
No. There's a famous bullfighter named Liesel.
Liesel Harris.
And always came to Dixie National, but my oldest son, Jacob, he almost lost his eye. It's my fault because with my kids, we just weren't big doctor people, and I should have took them to the doctor and paid the consequences for that. But anyway, he was in the hospital, and during Dixie National, and you got Liesel and you and a couple other guys, they all put on their paint and came to see him in the hospital.
I didn't
bet
know
that
you
was
were
good.
in there. It was a crazy
With
thing.
Miss Mississippi or somebody was with you, but
It was me and Liesel Harris and her and somebody.
But like in the rodeo world, that Liesel Harris was legendary.
Big guy, huh?
Yes, he's the best.
I got his book for Christmas, I guess 2 years ago, right after he passed away, and I hadn't read it yet. But Chastity ordered it for me, got it autographed. Hey, I'm gonna ask you a crazy question. You work for Michael Guest now.
Yep.
Spent some time in Washington D.C. Who is somebody on the other side of the spectrum? I'm not going to ask you who's a jerk. Who's somebody that's super nice that's on that opposite political side? There's anybody that stands out that
AOC,
really
nice lady. I mean, she comes across great. Personality seems to be great.
because y'all's offices.
We were straight across the hall. Yeah.
That's so funny to me. Jimmie Nichols from Scott County and AOC. The reason I asked, I have a friend that used to work executive protection, and he would tell me sometimes some of the people that I would look up to, he would say, man, the biggest jerks. But then it would be somebody that on the political side that you would think, and he'd say,
Nice.
not going to vote for him, but I've never been treated with more respect or more.
I've had those experiences working in the places I've been. Some of these people that you see on TV or see in the public that you think are just nicest people on earth can be some of the rudest you ever met. And then the guy that you see on TV that you think's a big jerk is the funniest guy to be around. Huh. It's funny.
You've been blessed to be around a lot of, I guess, famous people and celebrities. And is there anybody else that kind of stands out just being a super nice person?
Not really. I mean, there's a bunch of them out there that are just, great folks. I tell you, if you get into the music world, Andy Griggs, I don't know if you remember Andy Griggs. He was a big country guy back in the day. Still tours, still does shows. He had several songs that went to the top. But Andy's a super nice guy. I met him through Brad Carson over at Scott County Sheriff's Office. And Andy are real close friends. They hunt together a lot. Had the opportunity to meet him several times. He's just super, super nice fellow. Matter of fact, he got some friends of mine. We're going into a show to see him in Nashville a couple weeks ago. I sent him a text, say, "Hey, you think you can get them in?" And it was like, "Yeah, we'll take care of it." But,
How about that?
Do you think? And I just got to ask this because you're up there, and you mentioned like AOC and them people up there in Congress, and Michael Guest and all that. I feel like a lot of what they do is really, I don't want to use the term political theater, but I mean, the reality is I think that they try to portray something that really misleads the people in the nation, right? To lead them into this whenever I think a lot of times they really truly don't believe a lot of the nonsense that they say. And I'm not calling out anyone individual. I'm just saying a lot of times they push this nonsense and they know better. They know better than, and I'm not talking about I'm talking about the right and the left. I believe that they play chess with the Americans. Do
yeah,
you
I think
believe
a lot of times they know there's no way in in the world's going to happen or pass, and it's just sometimes I think it's just what's popular at the moment.
Yeah.
But the great thing about the guy I work for, and I'm not on here to talk politics, but I work for a guy who's a Christian man. He's a good guy. His morals are great, and it's a tough place to work when you're trying to go that direction. I mean, I'll just be as blunt as I can put it without getting into his Kool-Aid there. But I mean, Michael's a Christian guy, clean track record. You're not gonna have to worry about scandals and that kind of stuff with him, and it's tough for I know you say, why is it tough for a Christian or a good person with good morals to be able to do certain things? It's just some of the stuff you're faced with and what they put in these packages makes it very difficult for a good, honest guy to do.
Well, we know one thing, man. The world does not spin in Christianity, right? I mean, we know that Satan's the prince of the power of the air, and that there are principalities and powers or governmental. We know that these things are not Christian in nature, right? They're just not.
Well, you read again. I don't want to get into an eschatology thing, but when you read Revelation, I know I used to read it and I would say, "Well, I believe it because it says it," but I just couldn't see how it could happen. But now you can see where people like Michael Guest are being attacked, and
my boss can put a Bible verse on his Facebook page and get some of the most rude or I couldn't do it to anybody, whether I like you or not. You post Psalms, whatever. I'm not going on there and bashing you or talking trash. I could literally. Now I don't hate people. I said it, but if I hated you, I couldn't do that to you.
Well, I
don't understand that.
Chris, and
I don't either.
We was talking about Stanley Showers. And most time when you grow up with somebody, you know everything that they've ever done wrong. And my daddy is a very kind of black and white kind of guy. He's not like, he's going to call a spade. And he grew up with Stanley Showers and says he's the best, one of the best people he's ever known, and brags on his wife. But I know he's worked for Michael for years. And then I've known Janet Dominy for years. And you talking about just class people that he has on his staff.
Well, the congressman brought in good staff. He did. I'm not just saying that because I work with him. I don't. Not one person on our staff could I sit here and if you stuck that proverbial 38 in my ear, I couldn't come up with any trash. I mean, like I said, Miss Janet, Miss Deborah, Kim up in the front office, the whole bunch are just good people.
Yeah.
And look, those ladies, I'd be willing to bet you they have a lot of sleepless nights because it really hurts their feelings when they cannot help you. Mm-hmm. If you got a case that you need help with and they can't seem to get a solution, Kim will worry herself to death over.
Well, I know going back to Mr. Stanley in the political world, and I hate that my son, because one time he's thinking about being ministry and he chose politics. I'm like, oh. Because that's such a nasty, and you can agree with somebody on 90% of the things, and the 10% you don't, they demonize you. But so I'm familiar with how nasty that world can be. But for Stanley Showers to be in politics as long as he has, and for him to have so much respect, just shows
that's
you.
Cool Hand Luke. Excuse me.
Shows you the character he has, but the character that Michael Guest has, that he hires people like that.
Stanislaw is one of those guys who can work through 7 administrations and survive it because he's just a level-headed. I've never seen him, like I told you earlier. Nothing rattles him.
Yeah.
He takes his job serious, and he helped a lot of people. Stanislaw helped a whole lot of people, but he is he's one of the level-headedest, calm, cool hand fellas I ever met in my life.
Damon, do you know Marty Fortenberry?
I don't.
You need Marty is talking about the demonic plague of drugs. I think Marty's been to prison 7 times. He's never done anything violent. It's all drugs, but got saved, went through care center, doing really well. But he was with us Christmas Day. We fed the Rankin County Jail Christmas Day, but Michael Guest and his wife and son were there, and I asked Marty to share his testimony while I was there, and Michael Guest's wife just wept the whole time.
Wow, man.
And I told you, like you said, if he can post a Bible verse, people, because I said something. Of course, we're not campaigning for anybody or politicking, but I said something about him being at the jail. We talked about this last week, and the criticism, like he did that for, there's no newspapers. I put stuff on social media, but he don't even know who I am, so I know that's not why he was there. And but the criticism he got for going on Christmas morning to serve some guys that I know in his job, he used to put people in jail, but.
He's one of the most unjudgmental people I ever met. Now, again, it's not about politics. I'm talking about him as a human. Yeah. I know because of some personal experiences that he's one of the most unjudgmental humans I've ever met.
But I've got to agree with Tina, man. With those people, man, she says, keyboard warriors, most of them would never have the nerve to say those things to someone's face. And it's true because, man, we get, these guys are behind these computer screens who have, never even stood up for themselves in their whole lives can now attack you for everything you believe, and there's nothing you can do about it, Look, that's a sad reality.
I used to work with a coach, I won't say his name, but
say it, Scott.
And I'm not advocating violence either, but one day we were eating lunch, and I asked him, I said, have you ever been in a fight? And he said, what do you mean? I'm like, have you ever been in a fight?
You ever punched anybody in the face?
He's like, yeah, in the 3rd grade, I got pushed down at the playground or something. I said, well, that's your problem because back in the day, and again, I'm not advocating violence, but back in the day, if you stepped out of line, and if you were like me that thought you was a way better fighter than you were, but you learned to control your mouth and not put yourself in certain situations. And that was social media. And look, thank God for social media. It blesses us a lot. And we get to do this podcast. But like you said, there's so many people that just sit back and
got something to say about everything. And none of it makes any sense.
And I thought I held the title, too, till I got to the front gate of the Shelby County Fairgrounds one night. About 6 of them did a Texas two-step on me. I don't know. I had the teeth left after that one. I got dusted.
Learned your lesson.
Got dusted off.
Well, everything seems like a great idea until you get punched in the face.
Yeah.
But that's really a problem. A lot of people is they don't, and and neither I like how people just criticize and don't do anything about it. We're gonna get to your job with Michael Guest, but before we do, because tell us about GrabUOne Outfitters. I know people see that and think y'all just crazy and having a good time, but I know y'all raise a lot of money and help a lot of people. But tell us how that started and how it's grown. And
so I've been asked did I have a death wish. It was bulls, narcotics, and snakes. That's a bad combination. It's so convoluted on how it really started, but I'll just kind of walk you through how we started a little group back in 2009 officially. It actually started before then, but that's when we put the name on it. GrabUOne Outfitters. It was in 2009. We formed an LLC with 5 of us, 4 of us, and then we took on another guy later on originally was just a hobby. We went up to a fishing trip, and I used to fool with snakes all the time, and we'd catch snakes, and then a couple of other guys started catching snakes, and, of course, we catch and release. It was just catch them, mess with them, turn them loose. And next thing we knew, we had people.
Let me just say this because I know some of the animal. I am scared to death of snakes, and the fact that you taught me into doing that is a miracle, but every snake's a bad snake to me, but you actually are a weirdo, and you love snakes, and you will catch snakes and release them. So you've never.
I've never.
I
killed
can't
a
say
snake.
that.
I've never killed a snake
because I'm scared of them. But I know I've seen you like moccasins, copper, and pick them up and release them so they can go off and live in their happy little world.
Well,
So
snakes were put here. You know, we all got our opinions about the snakes, and you know, the Bible Belt folks have this belief that all snakes should be, you know, trampled on. But at the end of the day, snakes, God put them here for a reason. He did. I mean, they all serve a purpose. And we all, what's that purpose? Well, I could go through the list of what each one can do and does. But anyway, we started catching snakes at the lake, and it led up to some people following us around videos going, look at these nuts. They catching snakes. They're going to get bit and die. You know, you don't die from snake bite, number one. I mean, we've not had a snake bite death in Mississippi since like the 50s. There was only 5 in the United States last year as a whole. So, you know, you're not going to die from snake bite. So we were catching all these snakes, people videoing us. And so we decided we'd put together a little video, and Shane put it on YouTube. And the next day, and this is back before viral was viral, as if that makes sense, when YouTube was relatively new. I didn't even know how to get on YouTube. So we put a video on there called Snake Hunt Mississippi Style. And the next day it had like 300 and something thousand views on it. We were like, holy crap. And that spun a phone call from a news company. And then that led to another interview with a news agency. And then it led to me and Shane doing a Fox News, a blooming Fox National News interview about our snake grabbing. So anyway, we started putting together our own DVDs. We did one with you guys, Preachers Gone Grabbing.
at one time that was in every Bass Pro Shop in America.
Bass Pro Shop sold it. Every mom and pop store in Central Mississippi sold it. We sold 50,000 of those things. I mean, over a period, you know, a little time. That's before we moved into the Bass Pro Shop market. But anyway, we made them, we edited them, we sent them to California. They printed them, you know, mass produced them and sent them to us. And so that's how the GrabUOne name, I guess, got kind of out there in the communities. You know, a bunch of crazy guys catching snakes.
And all of y'all had some kind of military law enforcement
We were either
background.
law enforcement or medical or like Joey Mays, for example, is an assistant DA. Joey Rigby's a retired deputy sheriff. I'm retired narcotics. Oh, we were working in, but I'm retired narcotics agent. Who'd I miss?
Shane
Gibson worked in law enforcement. Brent Shorter, when he was with us, was military with part-time law enforcement background, and Brad Vincent was state trooper. And so, you know, we all had some type of public service, you know, in our backgrounds. But anyway, it went from the DVD thing to we got a radio interview with a guy over in Alabama, Camden, I believe, or somewhere over there. It was Getting Outdoors with Big Daddy Lawler. And that actually spun to the Fox News interview. And when that thing hit Fox News, the next day we were getting calls from production companies.
Now, I've heard that there was a guy that I might know. I believe his name is his name Scott Walters? I believe he was on there.
Oh, yeah.
Twice.
Yeah.
Somebody told me that it looked like he could
There it is.
walk on water, son. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Scott Walters, the pastor of Antioch Baptist Church.
Man, I was skinny then.
There you go. Here he goes, walking on water. Look at him walking.
Scott, you gotta let it go, son.
And he still got the snake.
You gotta let it go.
Put your hand in the water. Put your hand in the water. Hey, how you doing today?
David, when that was over with, Jimmy asked me, and my daughter got fangs out of my hand, but Jimmy asked me, how many times did he bite you? I said, I think 3. And he said, well, you said, whoa, 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 72 times. And later on, I had come back from Mexico, had a big old sombrero, and they thought it was staged. Everybody's like, man, y'all timed that perfect because that boat almost hit you. But this idiot threw a snake in my boat. And
He wouldn't do nothing like that.
Yeah, when I tell you I'm scared of them, I am terrified
Look
of
at
them.
you. I see right here.
That's on there right at the end where you jumped out of the boat.
But they threw that snake in that boat.
right
Here
there,
it is.
right there.
And this is not,
Let's have a look at this.
this was not staged.
Look at Scott.
Hey, I don't buy expensive glasses because I lose them, but there's some expensive sunglasses buying me that late because of that.
Not those Seckies again. I don't buy expensive sunglasses, but when I do,
these were little promo clips from those full DVDs that we did, and those things, those things got shared all over the world.
That's funny.
yeah.
But it went from
Tina said, "Lick and Scott moves."
yeah, he got out of that boat. But we went from the DVDs to getting we did a contract with CMT, and we did a CMT series called Mississippi Snake Grabbers.
Now, you can still watch that on Amazon Prime?
I'm not sure. You could up to about a year ago, I know. I'm not sure if it's still up there or not. I got them now on a hard drive, so I just kept them. But it went from CMT to Amazon Prime, and then when we first started doing it, Brad Vincent came up with the idea that we would tithe, 10% of whatever we made from the TV show to Blair Batson Hospital, and that's where we kind of started the benefit. And we're in our 17th year doing that now, and we've in the last 3 years alone have given away almost $500,000 to kids with cancer.
That's incredible.
In the last 2 years. 2 years.
$500,000.
Yeah, I wish y'all would have got you to send me those pictures earlier that you were showing me, and we could have put those up on the screen. That's, that's an amazing work, man, to be doing, man. What'd you tell me it was last year?
We gave 2 different kids $105,000 apiece.
$105,000.
Now, Jimmy, how do y'all pick the kids that you help? And
just by word of mouth. We know we can't, because it's part-time for us. It's a hobby. It's not a job, so it's a hobby. So we know we have a limited time that we can promote it and, do. It takes a lot to set all this stuff up and get everything done the way it needs to be done, and we do it through a 501, so it's a tax write-off too.
Right.
And so ask me that again.
how do you pick the kids?
How do I pick the kid? I got sidetracked with that part of it. But word of mouth, we watch around the community every year. We try to target 1 or 2, 3 kids to kind of put in the hat to see which one we think needs it the most. Or, we'd love to help them all. Mm-hmm. But to do anything nowadays, I know $105,000 is a good bit of money. But in today's world, it ain't nothing. I mean, honestly, it is something. But you know what I'm saying. You can run through that.
We tried to buy a wheelchair accessible van a while back, and you're right. Just
we've done everything from paying off a truck that one of our recipients, unfortunately passed away. So we wrote a check to GMAC and paid his truck off, so his family didn't have to deal with that and stuff like that. But where I'm going with this is we word of mouth. We watch the community. We try to keep it somebody fairly local if we can. We have had one kid that lived out of state, was from here, but was now living out of state because of having to get back and forth to doctors and stuff. But then it's a tough decision on who do we pick. It's 4 of us, and we usually come down to 2 kids, and then you get down. So last year we got to 2 and couldn't decide, so we said, heck, let's just have them both. So, and luckily, let's have them both of them, it doubled the intake. So the year before we gave away 105 total to 1 kid. Last year we gave 105 to 2 kids. So, people see what we do with it. It's 100% goes to the children. There's no fees. We don't get paid nothing. I mean, we don't want anything, number one. We have some sponsors who help us with things like sponsor a band for the event that night. We have, we got some people who do that for us anyway. So we don't want anything from it. All we want to do is, keep it growing and keep promoting, keep helping children. I want to get 20. I kind of set a goal now. This is our 17th year. I want to do at least 20 years.
Why just at least 20?
Well, I'm saying at least 20.
You're still a young man.
I'm fixing shoes. I'm fit. By when we hit our 20th anniversary, I'm gonna be on Social Security, buddy.
So, have y'all got any young crazy people that's willing to?
We got some young crazy ones that we've thought about courting to see if they'll be interested in trying to. We'll help them, but I just it's getting to a point where it's if you ever come to that event, I'm telling you, there's 800 to 1,000 people there that night. It's crazy.
Well, I think people just like if you go to church and get you a cup of coffee, people don't think somebody made that coffee. Somebody bought the cup. Somebody's going to clean it up afterwards. Well, and when you go to an event, you don't realize all the the sound and the lights.
Man, we make this is like a professional bass tournament, I guess you would say, because we have trophies. There's a lot of things that go into it. We have a band both nights. This year, we're going to have bull riding, bronc riding Thursday night, bull riding, bronc riding Friday night, and a snake rodeo on Saturday. So we're going to have 3 full nights that we got to coordinate. I have to, when I say I'm saying us, we have to plan for all 3 of those, just like they're all separate events. There's just so much that you have to deal with. You got to get the bulls there, you got to get the horses there, you got to get all the stuff. We had to have a snake rodeo there, you got to get the bands there, you got to get coordination with the landowners up there. It's a lot of. I'm telling you, by the time I leave there on Sunday, I'm ready to get on.
I can imagine. How can one help you on that benefit?
All sponsorships and all donations go to the children, right? So anybody who wants to sponsor it, we don't turn anybody away, and we don't ask for levels. We ask that you do what you can afford. But that makes it fair we have some people who can't afford to give a bunch of money, right?
Well, mom and pop business.
Small businesses, and we got some people that give good money. Like I said, last year we gave away to 2 kids $210,000 total. We raised more than that, but you got to figure the event cost X number of dollars. There's some expenses that go there, so we literally raised, up around probably $215 last year. All of this was sponsors and just straight donations. And we do an auction about March. We haven't got a date set this year, but any items that anybody would like to donate to use as auction items, reach out to me. I don't know if he's got I don't know if he's going to put up, but you're welcome to put that phone number I gave you. You can put up here. It don't bother me.
What I'm going to do right quick is I'm going to take a picture of your card. Is that okay?
Yes,
and
sir.
I'm just going to put that up there. All right.
Yeah. And anybody interested in making any type of donation, like I said, it's a 501. If you need a form showing where you made a donation for your tax purposes, we'll provide you with that. It's done through the Mississippi Center for Police and Sheriffs, which is run by Mr. Steve Pickett.
Stephen Pickett.
Yeah, Steve Pickett's organization has been kind enough to team up with us for this event, and it's been a blessing. It protects the giver from tax, where you can do a tax write-off, and it also protects the family receiving the money from being taxed on his income. So,
isn't that crazy that you have to think about stuff like that?
It's happened. We got slammed with taxes a few years ago. We didn't know. I thought simply writing a check to it for a donation was you could use a tax write-off. Well, you can't. It's got to go through a 501, which there's people who would scam it if you didn't. Mm-hmm. So it's a little aggravating, though, when you give money to somebody who needs money for a true charitable need, and then they get taxed as income.
Mm-hmm.
They get hit with income tax. I'm talking about people that are on Social Security and can't pay for nothing,
So reach out to Jimmy, contact you, follow y'all on all the different social media.
Hey, sorry, not the best picture in the world, but I just took it right here on my desk just now. But, Jimmy, just go ahead and explain that to him, please, sir.
Sir? That's my, that's where I currently work, but the 769-798-7253 is my direct number. That's my personal phone. I can't obviously do the business for that on the government website, but you can text me on my personal phone, which again is that mobile phone, and or call me or whatever. I'll be glad to meet you or come pick it up, whatever. If you have any type of donation, whether it be just an item that you may be willing to donate for an auction, or whether it be money or whatever, if you'll contact me, I can tell you how you can make those deposits where it goes straight to that account where my hands are not on it. So just any way you think you might could help raise money for this year, we're helping a little girl named Salem Bennett. Salem's suffering from I can't remember the diagnosis, but it affects all 4 of her limbs. They're I hate to use certain words, but anyway, she's got to have a bunch of surgeries on her arms and legs to give her some more normality in life. She's 2 years old. And then the other person that we're helping, we decided to help a vet this year as well. We got a United States Marine who was involved in a helicopter. Well, he was rescued some guys, and some made it, some didn't, from a helicopter crash over in Afghanistan. And Not going to get too much into his personal business, but he has had some struggles from that and doing good today, but still deals with some demons, and we trying to help him out. So
Cena would like to know what the date of the event is.
Yeah, well, it's kind of confusing because we start this event, as far as the fundraising, we start in December every year, which we've already started. And the actual event, when I say the event, the snake grabbing rodeo is June. It's the first Saturday in June 5th, I believe. But like I said, on the night of the 3rd and the 4th, or the 2 nights preceding the snake rodeo, we'll have an actual rodeo, bulls and broncs, just rough stock. And then we'll have the snake rodeo on Saturday. And it takes place at Lake Washington at Roy's Store and Cabins. A very nice facility. It's all been redone in the last few years. I mean, he has upgraded that place to it's unbelievable, to be honest with you, to be in the Mississippi Delta where it's sitting. He's got a steakhouse on site, got a bar on site, saloon. I mean, all that little stuff. I'm not promoting bars and saloons, so y'all don't take that the wrong way. I'm just telling you guys that all this stuff is right there on site. You have, like I said, food, places to hang out, listen to music, do whatever you'd like to do, and it's all for a good cause. All the proceeds go to the children and the Marine this year.
And the veteran and the child, they're both from our area.
Yes, sir.
Is this Roy's store here?
Yes, sir. That's it.
That's it?
Yes, sir. And it's very upgraded now. It still looks kind of the same on the outside, but he has done some tremendous work to that place.
It's funny.
It's sitting on Lake Washington.
When you put your number up there, I always hate these phone calls when I get people to call and say, hey, can you give me Jimmie Nichols' number or Mike Lee or Bubba Holyfield? And I was always
now we can give it out willy-nilly.
Yeah,
son,
that's
huh?
what he put it out because I always hated the line, like, because I knew that they weren't going to call to thank y'all for anything, and I always like, man.
Well, I've been working public service long. I kind of like it. Just accepted the fact you're going to get called.
Yeah, I get
It
plenty
always
of them.
put me in a bad bind. Tell us about your job now with Michael. Guess what do you do and what areas do you cover? And
I work as a field rep and law enforcement coordinator for the congressman. We travel the district, especially when he's gone, meeting with people that he can't meet with, constituents who need things, who can't get to an office, can't use the internet, can't use email, that type of stuff. We go out and vet those cases and get them to the right caseworker in our office to actually help them get a solution. We also just randomly show up and meet with business owners throughout the state, throughout our district, to see what needs they have. In today's world, funding comes from so many different places, and some businesses, especially your bigger industries, that some of those have some federal funding attached to different things that we help them find grants, help them find different things to help them. What am I trying to say? Financially, we deal with a lot of cities and counties with infrastructure stuff because there's it costs a fortune to keep sewer and water running, and every city and county has those issues. We help them with funding there when we can. But then, another part of our job, just making sure the congressman gets to where he needs to be safely at certain times when he's going to different events.
now I know you work the whole state, but your district includes, like your personal district includes what counties?
Well, I've got pretty much everything south of 20 down to Marion County, but we commingle. I mean, if one of the field reps has a conflict in a county, we can go help with that. But we actually cover our congressional district goes from Starkville all the way down to Columbia.
It's a big area.
Yeah.
And how many field representatives are there?
We got 2 in the Brandon office. We got 1 in Meridian, 1 in Starkville, and that's it here.
And I know the other guy, he has a law enforcement background as well.
Chad Dixon.
And, now this Mr. Guest, does he choose people for that just because?
Well, it helps with internal security. We have limited resources as far as general house members. Normal house members don't have a true protective detail, so there's obviously a reason he's got.
So you're still in the business of protecting as well as.
Well, we hope it don't come to that, but yes, sir. We have a responsibility to take care of him.
So, and I know, do you know who Sean Ryan is?
Yeah.
I listen. He always asks everybody to guess. He says, "So what's your carry? Your everyday carry? So what's your everyday carry?"
Oh, mine? I carry 45. I carry Springfield.
No EDC, baby.
Yeah, that's
carry
I know he's
Springfield
got
45.
some different guests, but when I first started watching him, the first 30 minutes was their EDC carry, and they'd be pulling out, this is my knife, this is my gun, and all that. So
Yeah, I'm 45 fan.
so everybody, all you critics, y'all call Jimmy if you're not a 45 fan, and
Well, I carry 9 too sometimes, but I just parcel that old 45.
now why 45? Just because that's what you always had, or?
I just know what that critical incident round to do. Now, I'm not knocking any of the others, but 45 tends to business.
Now, and I saw not long ago you still are pretty accurate marksman.
Well, I do okay.
Yeah, I saw
do
when you
okay.
put up, saw some results that you had, and I tell you what else, Dave, I wish I'd have had time with, man, we've been so busy, but Jimmy just had a birthday, just turned 40.
Yeah.
And I had the honor of teaching all of his kids, but his daughter put him doing a spinning back kick. Even though you're
Yeah.
Where's-
that
where-
hurt.
170 pounds and 40
No,
years
no,
old.
no, no,
And look,
No, where is
210
this
and
spinning
50
back kick located,
I
sir?
was
210 and 59.
I was very impressed. You
Where
got-
do we find this spinning
I
back
don't remember
kick?
which child it was that put it on there, but
I'm trying to think of where she put
But
it.
I-
Where do we find this, Scott?
I was impressed.
If one were looking, Scott, where would this be?
I don't.
I
Was
think
it?
it's on.
Was it Allie?
Let me see how she posted it. It's on my. She got me with it. It showed up on my page. I said, "Girl, I'm gonna get you."
Well, I would look. I would be prideful if I could spin around and kick that high.
Well, what she didn't. She caught me off guard with it.
Yeah, I was really, really impressed. Now Damien's good. He'll probably. We may have to find something else to talk about for 3 minutes. So she put it on your Facebook
If you
page.
go on my, look at. You know how to find. Well,
I'm already there.
did you find it?
I'm looking for it. I'm
Scroll
scrolling down.
He's in the
It's on December
camouflage.
26th.
He must have been hunting with Jim.
I'm gonna switch on over to the media scene. That way you can show it to me if you see it.
Come on.
Is
down.
that it? You
No.
about to kick
Come
that
on
thing over?
No, I can't drive that thing. Last time I got on one of them, I ran it off.
I was
the
like, that
reservoir.
is impressive.
Scroll this on down. Not far from there.
I got to see this spinning back kick, bub.
Well,
You're
it
gonna be
wasn't much of one.
impressed.
There it is.
Oh! Bang! Oh, hey,
We were kung fu fighting.
I'm gonna make a meme out of that.
That's been a long time ago.
Wow.
Well, that wasn't but a few months back.
But you grew up fooling around with martial
Yeah, that's
arts
good
and all
stuff,
back.
man.
I did. I thought I was tough. Like I said, till I got dusted off a couple times.
Yeah.
So helps you know your limitations. Huh?
Yeah. It helps to know.
Well, Damon, hey, one more thing. I know we've had a lot of fun, but
Yeah.
I know you've had a little valley. You just lost your mom. I know y'all were extremely close, and your dad's in, I guess.
He's over at Bedford in Newton.
And
in the
what
nursing
was
home.
some of the, I know that's a whole different season of life.
It is. You spend, mamas, I can't imagine. I know people have different relationships, but mama was always my, I guess you say, protector. Mama take up for you when you screwed
get
up
on
the
to you,
worst.
too.
But right after she took up for you, you probably supposed to have a little discipline session. She didn't put up with no crap. She could throw a flip flop more accurate probably than I could shoot a rifle. Mama tuned me up many times. Matter of fact, when I was 18 and spent that night in jail, I told y'all about earlier, I got a whooping when I got home. At
Really?
18. Yes, sir.
18 years old.
Yes, sir. She popped me a couple times. It wasn't like just a regular whooping. She let me know that I had embarrassed her. I'd embarrassed the family. I mean, I heard it all. I washed dishes for like 20 hours. It was crazy. Didn't drive my car again for like 3 months at 18. And she just didn't put up with no crap. And thank God she was like that, because I had a gene. I have an addictive personality, and I know that. And I learned. I kind of caught that myself way back, a few years back, and kind of asked myself, "Boy, what are you doing?" You know, you're finna get yourself in a pickle if you're not careful. So, you know, I think that discipline that she instilled, and then like obviously my job over the last few years taught me a lot of things about self-control. And I think that, you know, without her being where she was, I'd probably been in prison.
How I know with this season of life, it's a whole different thing, and you've been taken care of all your life, then you have to be a caretaker. Once
I have a whole new appreciation for healthcare workers and people who do that for a living. Like you said, going from your mom took care of you, you know, she changed my clothes when I was a kid, and you get to a point where you are doing that for them. It gives you a whole different outlook. Because just like I didn't think I'd ever die, I didn't think your mama ever died either. So, you know, it's
what advice would you give or counsel would you give other people that are going through this?
you go see your mama and your daddy when you can. Make time. And if you got some things that you're not proud of or things that maybe have hindered that, fix them. At least look at them and say, hey, look, you know, I don't know who was wrong here.
Well,
I'm sorry.
yeah. Well, I know your mom and dad, and we all are, you know, flawed people, but I think you're a pretty good guy, and I think your sister's an angel. Now, you're not a good guy compared to her. I think she's the best thing since McAllister's sweet tea, but
Her heart's big as this room.
and then, but your kids loved their grandmother, your mama as much as.
Yeah, all my kids helped tremendously with that situation, but my oldest daughter, Allison, who is a nurse at MEA, I can't tell you how grateful I am for all she did. I mean, she's a trooper,
Yeah,
a
well,
true one.
You can tell, obviously, that y'all raised him right, but also your parents, how much they loved him. I mean, you don't see that in this generation like that, you know, your grandkids, you know, really loving their grandparents like that. So, well, Damon, do we have any?
Well, you know, earlier, Scott, you know, Jimmy was talking to us about informants. You remember that? Earlier we were talking about informants. And, well, whether you know this or not, man, I've got informants too, okay? So I know these guys who informed me certain things. And Jimmy, I don't know, maybe,
where's this going?
Maybe you may remember a time when you may have had just a little bit too much to drink and a raccoon ended up on your bedside.
I don't know this, so
Let's see.
will you divulge informants? Because I
Hey
don't know
man,
this.
listen, that's need to know information, son. But his last name's Welch.
Yeah. How's Blue? I just saw Blues this morning too, by the way. Yeah, that's one of my old hunting buddies. Good friend of mine from our deer camp.
Russell Welch.
Yeah.
Well,
Mr.
look,
Welch. So,
I was going to be good because I got a story about a billy goat.
if
You think
I'll tell you.
you think Randy Couture was a bad piece of meat? There's a billy goat in Scott County.
Man, we got a billy goat. I hope that thing's dead. But let me tell you about Blue just right quick. Yeah, we one night we had raccoons were stealing all our corn off out of our feeders, so we decided we was gonna get rid of a couple of coons. Well, I shot one, and you would know just had to be the one I shot had a little one with it. You know, and I'm a man.
Yeah,
I'm soft hearted. I hated to shoot the thing anyway, but they were tearing our feeders up. You know. So anyway, I go out there and there's a baby coon, a couple of them actually, and we get them and trying to figure out what to do with them. We get in the truck and I'm holding one of them, and that thing's screaming and hollering, making all kind of racket. And Blue starts driving my truck down the road, and all of a sudden the coon grabs a hold to the seat, snatches it out of my hands, and lands on top of his head. He didn't tell you that part.
He didn't tell me that part.
Yeah, he went around his head like a buzzsaw. And so I get the coon caught. He's hollering and cutting up, but we finally get the coon caught again. I get him. I put him in a dog kennel, and I'm trying to think of what am I going to do, poor fella. You know, I felt awful. Mama deceased, and there's a coon. You know, but anyway, I set him inside my cabin that night and didn't lock that door on that dog kennel. About 4 o'clock in the morning, I heard something boom, boom. You know, turn over, and I thought, whoa, what was that? I raised up and looked. Didn't see anything. I reached and turned the lamp on. When I sat up in the bed, that raccoon was sitting on top of the television right beside my head. And he launched again. I like never got that. Look, I like never got that coon back in that cage. That was a rough story about a coon.
Man.
Without
great.
getting into your personal sins, but tell us about
Your personal sins.
tell us about the goat without.
This is years ago, guys. This is my sister's wedding, by the way. So she's got a youngin' that's grown now, so that tells you how long ago that's been. It's been a long, long time. I had,
2 or 3.
well, the Lord turned water to wine, and I thought he meant drink it all that night. That's back when I was young and dumb. But anyway, I partook in the wine and some champagne. And so it don't do me well. I mean, I should know better because none of that stuff is good for me and never has been.
Or for anybody.
So I get home. I'm going to fast forward to the goat because it's a long story to actually get to the goat. A lot of stuff happened between where we left from and the goat. But I get to my cousin's house and I got out of the car. My stomach was bugging me a little bit from that wine, and I was down on one knee. Looked like I was praying, I think. And I felt something nudge me, kind of bumped my back, and I thought, what was that? I look over my shoulder and I'm looking face to face with a goat. And that joker had a wing. He had a wingspan about this wide and horns. Well, that blooming goat, when I went to get up, I went to stand up, the goat ran backwards, and he was on a chain or a cable or some type, and it caught my feet, my boots, and face planted me right there. Boom! I hit the ground. So I'm mad now with the goat. I rolled over and went to get up, and when I did, that goat crow hopped me. That joker he got up on his back feet, and he was looking at me like this with his eyes. And that joker came in first lick, boom, hit me right in the face, boom. So now I got the goat by the horn. And he's on top of me. I mean, his feet's literally over my head. So I get the goat pushed off of me, and I thought, if I ever get up, this goat going to the sale, So I'm trying to get up off the ground. I mean, he knocked fire from me too. I'm seeing little black dots. Well, I rolled over on all fours to get up, and that joker crow hopped me again. Here he come again. That joker got up on his back feet. Here he come again. And he hit me that time, knocked sweat. I'm talking about he knocked dust off me. Well, I'm thinking now, it's serious. This goat's going to kill me. So I got an uncle on the porch just dying laughing. I mean, the goat's out there killing me, and he's laughing. Of course, my wife at the time was mad as you can imagine because she didn't like wine and champagne either. So she gets in the car and goes home, which was across the road, and leaves me over there with the goat and my uncle. So I get back on my all fours to get up one last time. And that joker, when I tell y'all, he triple crow hop. He got up on a tiptoe over about 10 feet out and launched. Man, that joker hit me so hard. I thought he could. And I'm hollering at my uncle, get this goat. Get the goat. I said, I'm gonna kill you goats. What's gonna happen? Now I'm digging in my pocket looking for my knife, which thank God I didn't have, because I'd have stabbed the goat. I'm not gonna lie to you. That goat was killing. So the goat got me down on my back. And I get him in a headlock. And I flipped him up. Yeah, I flipped that goat over like bulldog and a cow. So I get the goat over on his back for a minute. It gave me time to get on my feet. But let me tell you, that's a story that needs to be told at the fire barrel one night when you can just sit around and tell the whole thing, because there was a lot of other stuff led up to that.
Oh,
but
that goat was serious.
Look, I woke up next morning, and I promise you, I looked like I had been slapped in the face 4 or 5 times with like a flat, rough paddle or something.
Damn, we had YouTube back then. All things new, we could sell that video and never have to worry about raising money or anything.
I never worked another lick. I don't like goats to this day.
There's funny people still, because that was 26 years ago, and people still talk about it. Look, when you're talking about animals, when I first met you, everybody knew you as a narcotics agent, but they would say, Jimmie, the guy that used to have the leopard.
Mountain lion.
The mountain lion. And that, I know that's a lot of things have changed laws a while, but when you were young man, you had a mountain lion and y'all kept it in the store.
Yeah, he was 15 years old. He died.
And how did that? Because you always had skunks. And,
Well, back then you didn't have to have permits in Mississippi to keep. Now they're permitted. You can't keep them. I mean, you can, but it's expensive, and then you got to go through a lot. But back then, I had a friend in the Air Force. His family was in the fur farm business, and they raised mountain lions and bears and stuff up in Indiana. Indiana. And he called me one day because I told him, I said, hey, if y'all ever get, like, I hate to say this too, Pete, and people get mad, but they cull them when they're little. And they either go to a petting zoo or to a zoo, or if they can't find a home for them, they put them down. I mean, that's just reality of that business. But so anyway, he contacted me and said, hey, I got one that didn't meet whatever grade that didn't meet. If you want him, because I told you I'd get you one if you're, if I ever came across another. He said, if you want him, you're going to come here and get him. You got to get him within this week for something. They had some kind of regulations. They couldn't let them leave after a certain time frame or something. So I got in the car and drove to Evansville, Indiana, and picked him up, and drove up there and got him, turned around and came back.
how old was he when you?
6 weeks.
And you kept him 15 years.
He was 15 years old when he died.
And what was it like having a mountain lion?
To me, he was like a dog, but he didn't let a lot of people fool with him. He'd let you pet him and stuff, but to me, he'd do anything. I mean, I could do anything I wanted to with him. But he was a big cat, 160 pounds.
I mean, what about your? I know for a while you had a pet skunk. Is he still with you?
No, Pepe died. Pepe was 11 years old too when he died. He made 11 years.
And what's it like having a pet skunk?
It's okay if they don't have them stinkers in them, but you don't want to get sprayed by one, which I did.
But then you tell me it's almost like a personality of a cat.
He was just like a cat.
Huh.
He used litter box and everything. I mean,
really. And how many snakes do you have now?
I'm down to 2. I'm trying to downsize.
And have you had both of these for a while?
Yeah, I got a rattlesnake that was used in the TV show when we did it, and then I got a what have I still got? Oh, a big California king snake, and that's it.
I mean, I told you when I was telling Damien about you.
I had a bunch of them over the years.
About you coming on here. I said literally everybody they'll say, do you know Jimmie Nichols? I say he is an idiot. And that's why Damon all these snakes. But I know Damon Jimmie when he would come to the different churches I was a part of. I know one time you did a drug presentation and you brought a boa constrictor and talked about how some things slowly get a hold of you, and you was talking about the drugs, and then you had a rattlesnake. And you talked about how some. And,
I always started off with a little snake. I don't remember what I used back then, but totally harmless, basically. Everybody thinks that this is just a little of whatever it is, and it's harmless. It's not going to hurt me. And then I graduated up to the boa and then the rattlesnake.
Yeah. But that was good. And, kids with their attention span, anything like that, they'll remember what you said more than they would because of how you presented and your personality. I mean, guys gifted you with great personality, but that did more than 1,000 other messages from different. Not to criticize anybody, but you had a really gift of doing that. And I hope you'll go back to doing some more.
Well,
of that.
I learned with kids, you got to do something to keep that attention span. After about 3 minutes, they're, you have one turn a cartwheel in the back of the room or something, So you bring a snake, it keeps them, not just snakes, but anything else. You keep their attention, keep them watching at least and listening. Because the message was things that you guys think are little problems today turn into big problems. And I think you and I and probably our friend over there on the desk can say the same thing. We can testify that from personal experience.
Absolutely. Well, Damon, do you have anything else? You got any more informants, or we're ready?
I think that's about it, man. I will say that just a quick drop on these. If anyone would be willing, my friend, Mr. Tommy, has got stage 4 cancer, and he needs your help. And, Jimmy, just so that you know, Mr. Tommy is Russell Welch's father.
Really?
Yes, sir. It's his daddy. So if anyone out there who would be willing to, if you're around the Jackson or Flora area and you just want to get one of these, this is a red beans and rice plate. It's $10, and it would help greatly. to go toward his hospital bills and all the stuff that they're going through. Normally, I don't do stuff like this, but this is a different, just a different situation.
You go to church with these guys, Damien?
Well, yeah. Well, Russell's one of my best friends. That's why when I told him that Jimmie was coming on, he said, "Oh, I know him well. Ask him about the raccoon." I said, "Oh, I will.
Yeah.
Believe me."
Russell's dad, Tommy, and the guy I said I saw a while ago are brothers.
Yeah,
His brother's in my deer camp.
I got you.
Tommy's brother.
I got you. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I didn't
that's
realize
who
that's
it
who
is.
that was. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
that's exactly who it is. And
what's his name, Damien?
his name is Tommy.
Tommy.
Yep, Tommy. I think Tommy Welch. I think is his last name. I just know Russell's Russell Welch. But I mean, you get red beans and rice, you get salad, and you get bread, and also a cookie. I'm told it's $10. And anyone who does not even want the meal, if let's say you're in Ohio right now, and you just want to help, just leave me a message or drop it in the comments, and I will get back to you as soon as I can.
Yeah, and while we're giving plugs, I want to give Damien the plug because, I've said from the beginning, we want to see you succeed in this where you can do this full time because you really, if you need any kind of production work done, if you want to do a podcast, any of that, Damien's expert at it and can handle that. So you just reach out to Damien. Damien, what's the best way to reach out to you through?
Right here on whatever platform you're on. If you're on Facebook, just hit me with a DM. If you're on YouTube, or if you're on Rumble, wherever you're at, just leave it in the comments. If there's no message feature, or you can send me an email, Damien, DAMEIN, at powerdigitalmedia.org.
And look, every Tuesday, y'all join us. And again, the more you like and share and comment and all that, it helps to, what do you call them, Damien? Algorithms?
Helps the algorithm, yes, sir.
But we got Gwen McClain next week and Stephen King. Stephen's actually in the Mississippi Blues Hall of Fame. And got a buddy of mine from Pearl River, Louisiana coming on January 27th. And then future guests include Dennis Ellenberg, Michelle Adcock. Jimmie, Michelle's an elected official rank. What is she?
She's a circuit clerk.
Circuit clerk. And man, a great lady. I've just really got to know her over the last year, and a very giving person. And David Dillmore, one of the best leaders, and me and a guy I know, and Preston Dozier. So we got a lot of different people, a lot of different things. And like I said, we're trying to, there's all kinds of podcasts, but we're trying to be positive and give stuff, lift up Jesus and give people tools that'll help them. So you can comment and like all this other kind of stuff, or you can do this, and it truly helps, doesn't it, Damien, when people interact?
It does. And also, if you guys, wherever you're at, if you're on Apple Podcasts, we're there. If you're on Podbean, we're there. If you're on Spotify, we're there. Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Player FM, and Podchaser, and Boomplay. If you're on any of these platforms, you would like to hear just the audio version of this episode or all of our other episodes as well. I'm a little slow to get them up there. I'm probably 5 or 6 behind, but they are coming on a consistent basis, being uploaded there. Well, and we would love to have you come and follow. You can see this is our metrics, and today we've had only... Well, this is not right. It should be 5. But anyways, you get the idea. You guys jump over there wherever you're at. Look for All Things New podcast, and like, follow, share, subscribe on whatever platform that you're on. Amen.
Amen.
We thank you, guys.
All right, let me close this out with prayer. Father, I thank you for Jimmie. I thank you for your hand of protection over literally his whole life, Lord. How you've taken care of him, and we know that you have a great purpose for his life. I pray you continue to guide him as he navigates this political world. We pray that there would be people that would support, encourage, and be understanding, and let him be a light in Washington, D.C. I pray for Rip and Jimmie and Nicole during this time of a season as they experience loss and just changes and going through this time, that you would be their source of strength and help. And we just pray for everybody that's listening, Lord, that they might know the true freedom that we found in Jesus Christ. And bless Damien and his business, and we pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Guys, stay prayed up.
holy is my God. Mighty power, love untried. Heart beats pure in his name. Fire burns, no shame. Faithful shepherd, guide my way.